we are live for the first ever Whiskey Wednesdays. Hi, everybody.
Hi.
Hi.
Yep. Just polishing up a couple quick things here. Maybe give some other people time to pop into either the Discord or see, Martyr didn't go to bed. He lied to us.
BRB.
Let's see. And blank. Okay. Oh, no más thing to do. Because I was totally prepared to start streaming when I started streaming. Yeah. Cool. And that'll do. Cool. So, hello. We are here, ready for talking about some somewhat random topics for things. Yeah. Let's see. Oh, that's weird. It went to desktop again. Odd. Well, anyway. So, to start things off, thank you guys for joining or tuning in on this. Whether this may be a podcast, I haven't decided on that yet. It will definitely become a VOD on our YouTube channel. You can find us by searching Fools and Flagons. If it does become a podcast, then it will be on most major platforms like our actual D&D podcast is. Podbean, iTunes, Google Play, all that fun stuff. Let's see. Donations are never required, but always appreciated. There's no Kayla here to tell me otherwise. We have swapped to coffee for either donations or memberships, whichever you feel the most comfortable with, if you do feel like supporting us. This is part of our new schedule. We've got quite a bit that we stream throughout the week, and we have a calendar down below where you can check out what's next and keep up with us as new things are added. So, the idea for Whiskey Wednesdays is I have myself a glass of whiskey that I am going to take my first sip of to begin this stream. Got a little bit of Tullamore Dew. Nice and smooth. And the idea is that the stream will last at least as long as it takes for me to drink that whole glass, and not a second before. And it looks like Zeke finally joined us.
Hello. Might have to dip out at some point. Was expecting a Zoom call about 30 minutes ago. They are running late.
Boo.
So I decided to be on stream until they decide to show up.
Boo.
Fair enough.
Well, thank you for gracing us with your presence.
You're welcome. Am I a freaking toaster?
Yes. Yes, you are a toaster.
It just took him that long to notice.
I just pulled the stream up. Oh my. I hate you, Ian.
No, you don't. You love it.
Listen, if you would provide, quality character art, maybe we could change that.
I'm sorry. Did Pez or Zon provide their character art? No.
First off, I'm pretty
actually,
sure
yeah. Zach is the only one that has character art.
Yeah.
Meh.
Mine was generated, but I will be buying character art. I have just been slacking.
Well, if I'm being honest, yours is actually from an anime I've started watching that I've absolutely fallen in love with. So, yeah. And Pez, I mean, I had to get Pez hugging some moss. I mean, it... Anyway.
Nice.
So, since you are here and we've got a little bit of time, do you want to tackle your topics first, in case you do get called away, or at least attempt to?
Are we gonna try to tackle all of these today?
I'm gonna at the very least try to tackle the ones that you submitted while you're here. And
okay,
then,
fair enough.
to
explain. Dadgummit, Ian.
I am in charge here. I am the DM, not you. We are going to go with your one that intrigues me the most is the DM is the only one who rolls the dice. So please explain what the hell you mean by that.
Okay, so just to paint you a picture, because we've all been in games or in sessions where, say, someone wants to explore or search or investigate a room, and they roll the dice, and it's a 5 or below. So we all know they don't see crap. And then everyone else in the group was like, well, I might roll higher. So everyone tries to roll to investigate the room. Whereas otherwise, and this is just one example of this, otherwise a DM a player could say, hey DM, I want to investigate the room. DM says, okay, rolls the dice and says, okay, what's your modifier? Tells him his modifier, he adds it to whatever the dice roll is, and this is all behind the screen so the players cannot see. And so the DM says, okay, you don't find anything out of place. The players don't know if it was a high roll or low roll, so they have no reason to suspect whether or not they just did a bad roll and just there might be something there. They just can't see it because of their low roll.
All I'm gonna say to this one is, I'm not sure we'd ever find anything.
Yeah, if it were up to me, you guys would still be in fucking Lunawind the first time around. You guys wouldn't have been able to find the fucking train.
Well, I do agree with that. You can be something like that can be fixed easily with only allowing one person to roll.
Sure.
Like, hey, who wants to do this? Speak now or hold your peace.
Right. And it's the same way with like a charisma check. You could be like, oh, I try to persuade this person. You roll a 2, and you're like, well, maybe he could have been persuaded. We don't know.
Well, the way that I've been doing it is that the first person to try something usually has the best chance. If they fail, the DC starts to go up. Like, if Zahn decides to pick a lock and he doesn't do it, and he's like, okay, Kasumi, can you come try it? And, you know, God forbid Kasumi isn't able to pick the fucking lock, it's going to be way more difficult for the next person, to the point where if, like, the second or third or even fourth person attempts it, I'd probably just say, you feel something snap, your lock-picking tools have broken, they're wedged in the lock, you can no longer attempt to open it. Definitely with charisma, the more you try to convince someone with intimidation or just flattery, and you fail, that, to me, that DC goes up quick for verbal situations like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I almost kind of, I don't know, man. Having the DM make the rolls like that, I don't know. It feels like at that point, why is the player even there?
Yeah, that's true. Well, like I said, it was just a random idea I had, so I was like, we'll throw it in there. See what people have to say.
It's a decent thought. Like, I understand where you're going for with that, but
You're stupid. It's a dumb idea.
just practically, I don't see how that could be.
Well, no one ever accused me of being practical.
Fair. All right. Then would you like to talk about describe what you're doing before or after rolling the dice?
Okay, so this one is not originally mine, and it's kind of connected to the former one. But someone pointed out that it is kind of unfortunate when, say, a character might make this really good speech, like persuasive-wise, or might do something that's normally would make anyone in the world crap their pants if they're rolling for an intimidation. Like, they might just say or do something that should work any time, but they roll their dice and it's a 1. And they said, well, what if instead of the dice roll determining whether what you say works or not, what you say is determined by the dice roll. So say you're like, I want to persuade this person. You go ahead and roll the dice beforehand, and if it's a 20, you can say whatever you think sounds really, really persuasive. However, if you roll a 5, you could be like the kid who can't make up his mind from the internet memes. It's like, would you, if you...
Yeah, I see.
I almost feel like that's the actual role, anyways.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I don't know. I kind of feel the same way, and just that just sort of feels like what the roles are.
Yeah.
For
Like I said, it was just curious to me because like there is a lot of times where I've seen players or even been a player who's like, I do this as intimidation, and it would for any normal person be very freaking intimidating. But then you just happen to roll really low, and the character who should be running for their life is just like, you're not that scary.
I mean, here's the way that I kind of approach it, as I was kind of multitasking, trying to figure out how to do strike through in OBS, and it's not working. The more that you, or I say the more or better that you describe what you're doing, I'm very much a big fan of the rule of cool. Mm-hmm. So if, for example, you say, well, I want to go intimidate that guard. Okay, how? Well,
The guard stands
I'm
over
going to
there.
go up,
Come on.
I'm going to put my hands on my hips and say, hey, you let me in this place. I'm going to be like, okay, well, your DC's really fucking high because you suck at this. But if Zahn walks up to him and he's like, okay, don't worry about it. I got this. He walks up there, grabs him by the tie, pulls him down to his height, and is like, listen here, motherfucker. If you want to see your balls again tomorrow, you're going to let us in here and not ask any questions. You're going to forget you even fucking saw us. Got it? Then I'm going to be like, okay, now I have to think, is this the kind of thing that would actually intimidate this guy? Like, is he a walking cloud, or is he like scrawny guy that's just like high on his own gas or whatever? And if it's the latter, then I'm going to be like, okay, the DC is probably going to be like a 10 for intimidation, right, because he just like physically abused this guy. So it still is going to be up to the roll. I mean, even though I lower the DC, if Zach, heaven forbid, Zach rolls a natural 1, you know,
that's happened before.
Yeah, it just kind of, it is what it is.
Yeah, I think it's because I'm approaching, and so your answer for both of these types of questions has been variable DC based on the actions of the player, whereas the D&D that I first started playing back in college was you have a set DC no matter what, and it just depends on the dice roll. And frankly, as a side note, I like your idea a lot better.
Yeah.
But I think that's where most of these questions are coming from, is like it's two different styles of DMing. And so your answer to it is just like, well, that doesn't make sense, so I'll just DM it differently, which sounds great.
I just killed 2 of them. I did. Wow.
I mean, that's the whole thing about D&D, though, is that, like, yes, you have rules and all, but it's a story that you're participating in with a bunch of other people, and if you just limit it down to, well, literally no matter what you say, this is the DC to beat, that's kind of boring.
Yeah. And that's, I think I'm also used to running out of a module, because in a module, that's what they do, because the person who wrote it isn't thinking, oh, well, they might say this or they might say that. They're like, no, this person is like this level of toughness, so here's the DC for intimidating them, or this is how difficult this thing is, so here's the DC for it.
True. I would also
I think
potentially argue that they may not be so much thinking about that, but thinking that they are going to be having their modules bought by people that only play by the rules.
Right.
By the rules.
By the rules.
I mean, yeah, by the rules. I mean, because, yeah, I mean, you could run a module for, say, the Adventurers League, and the Adventurers League has to adhere to the rules.
Yeah, true. Very true. Hadn't thought of that.
Yeah, so I think it's just interesting. I came in with these questions being like, oh, I wonder if we're playing strictly by the rules, how this would affect it. But you just came as like, well, that's stupid. Let's just DM it differently.
Well, yeah. I mean, because don't get me
I'm
wrong,
not
when I
it's
was
highly amusing.
when I was first really looking at being a DM, I was very, very interested in like what do the rules say, so that I had a basis. And it was really annoying to me because I like all the videos that you go out and see, they're always talking like, oh, well, you're the DM, you just make it up as you go. It's like, great, cool, got it, love it. What are the rules? Because I want to know where the line is that I'm breaking. So like, if I am going to say, oh, well, technically this module says that the DC to open this lock is a 15, or you need like a strength 12 to kick it open, but then you say like, well, all 4 of you pick up brick and use them as a battering ram, I'm gonna be like, that's fucking hilarious. I want this to work. I'm lowering the DC. I know where that line is to cross. And if someone comes up to me and like, it's like, they used a metal man for a battering ram. Get off me. It was awesome. So that's my take on it.
Yeah. Whereas I wouldn't let a dwarf go through a brick wall because physics.
Neither would I. However,
Fuck you. You guys are dumb.
However, if the wall had been weakened in some way beforehand, maybe. Or,
Like with my
or you know,
face.
if all of you ran at it at once and hit the wall, maybe. But just him? No, this isn't Looney Tunes.
Yeah.
So
How do you want to get out of the building? I want to run through the wall. What? I want to run through the wall. It's a brick wall. I don't care. I want to run through it.
well, I was trying to find a cool way to do a strike through on the topic menu, but OBS is being dumb and I can't figure out how to do it with their text GDI. So,
How dare.
I know. It should be very simple. So I am gonna skip around a little bit because I know Nim is slightly busy, and I'm trying to stall talking about kobolds until he's maybe able to come back. So at the very least, I'm gonna save that one for last.
Yeah, I think he was the one who suggested bugbears as well, right?
No, he actually didn't suggest either of those.
Jesus, I don't know how you got, like, I looked up bugbears. Those guys are fugly as hell. Man bear pig looks better than those
Actually,
things.
no, it was Pez that suggested kobolds. It was Resident Toe Stubber that requested bugbears, which I don't even know if they're watching the stream or not. I don't even see them online on Discord. So,
Well, maybe they'll watch the VOD. And sir, I hope your toes are okay.
I think it's a she. I think that's Stubby, who you used to watch us when we were doing Sea of Thieves.
Oh, I am sorry.
Oh. How dare you?
So I guess with that being said, I can go ahead and talk about bugbears a little bit. So I broke it out into 2 sections. We've got the lore, and then we've got the game advantages and disadvantages. And I spelled advantages wrong because I'm awesome.
Advantages.
So the lore with these creatures is, essentially man, bear, pig.
Oh, wow. Okay.
They're essentially they're essentially narcoleptic gorillas. Like they sleep all day, but they're ambush predators. They're
Aren't
very
they also-
rare, huh?
Sorry. I was about to say, aren't they technically goblinoids?
Yeah, kind of.
All right.
Yeah, kind of.
is a
They're
goblinoid?
they're a weird like half and half as far as like a goblinoid would be, in the sense that they're very easy to be subjected, but they're so fucking lazy that even if they're subjected by a bigger race like orcs or dragonborns or whoever, they will still try to force lower, weaker races to do their forced labor jobs.
Yeah. And for the sake of Zach, goblinoid is goblins, hobgoblins, and partially bugbears, apparently. It's just whatever, a goblin-ish race.
Interesting.
They're basically really big, fuzzy goblins. With a slight hint of kobold in them, because they don't really like combat. So they are stealth predators. They have a bonus to their stealth, and we'll touch on that in a minute. But they usually only attack when provoked or have something to gain. So there's this big rumor and fear that they're just out there in the trees, man, and they're ready to get you. They're ready to snatch your kids up, blah, blah, blah. But in all reality, unless that kid is carrying like a bunch of meat or a satchel of tools or something,
Or honey.
the bugbears probably aren't going to go after them at all. They're just going to be like, nah, it's not worth it. Fuck that.
No, I don't know. That's what it said. I was...
And my next note was they will get weaker races to do the work for them, or they must be bribed themselves to do work.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Because I know. I think I know that makes sense because a lot of modules I read in the past have in like small dungeons they're like, oh, there's a lot of goblins and the boss is a bugbear because he's just subjugating the goblins and doing what he wants.
Yeah, absolutely. They are. My next bullet point is literally in all caps, lazy.
Isn't bribing someone to do labor literally just labor?
Capitalism.
Yeah. So the other very interesting thing about them is their murdering sprees are technically acts of worship to them. It's how they honor their two brother gods. So the brother gods are actually, it's a very interesting take. So their savagery and their laziness are both tied into the brother deities. Let me make sure that I'm wording these right. There's Hergek and Grunkle. Hergek is the fearsome, the more combative of the brother deities, and they fight for him. And they'll actually take, like, their victims' skulls, put them on a pike, and it kind of acts as like a warning alarm. Like, they can actually have... It's sort of like the alarm spell, but gruesome.
Interesting.
And the other brother, Grunkle, is incapable of sleeping. Like, he's just always awake. So their belief is that they sleep so much to basically power that brother deity with their sleep so he stays awake.
Interesting.
Yeah.
It's such a strange, like, it almost reminds me of that little they power the awake god with their sleep. Almost reminds me. There's a fish like race in D&D, and we might have to touch on this more later because they're an interesting thing because I think they come from the Cthulhu mythos. But their god is whatever they believe in, so they could literally make a household object a god if they believe in it hard enough.
Yeah. Speaking
like
of,
orcs.
if you have a suggestion for the next Whiskey Wednesdays, we have a chat in the D&D... not D&D shares. D&D text channels called Whiskey Wednesday Suggestions. Anything you want to enter in there that you would like us to review and talk about, please post it in there. We'll add it to the list.
Maybe, unless it's stupid.
Oh,
In which
even
case
if
we
it's
probably
stupid.
won't add it.
If I'm going to be doing Whiskey Wednesdays every week, I need all the help and topics I can talk about.
Yeah, and let's be honest, both of mine were pretty stupid when we got down to the bare bones of it.
Yeah, you're fucking retarded. So here's an excerpt from the Bugbear race bit on D&D Beyond. In an act of worship that also sometimes attracts favorable attention from their gods, bugbears sever the heads of defeated foes, cut away or stitch open the eyelids, and leave the mouths hanging open. The heads are then placed on spikes or hung from cords around a bugbear den. The heads themselves are trophies that honor Hergek, and their ever-staring eyes are an homage to sleepless Grunkle.
Yeah, no.
That would be an interesting thing to play a bugbear cleric and explore that sort of dynamic with the group.
Well, speaking of the playing it as a character race, the advantages and disadvantages that I saw, there actually is not a huge amount of disadvantages that I can see, at least rules and stat-wise. I mean, I'm sure that you may want to play it a little bit more lazy and like stay in character, but it actually has some really interesting advantages as a race. They get an extra 5 feet of melee range, no matter what the weapon is. So long as it is a melee weapon. So just a regular basic bitch like maul or short sword, you have a 10-foot melee range. And if you have a glaive that would normally give you 10 feet, you now have 15 feet melee range. the carry weight for them, you were actually considered a large creature. So the way your strength modifier modifies your push, pull, and lift stats, going up to large increases that. I don't remember exactly by how much, but it's pretty significant. And that is also your actual like proper carry weight. So whereas Pez was like, I'm encumbered, it would probably never fucking happen with a bugbear. You do have stealth proficiency out the bat, just as the race, not even with a rogue or anything. You get a +2 to strength and a +1 to dexterity. So a bugbear could theoretically be a really fucking good thief.
Yeah.
Now imagine an assassin thief at that. With that extra melee range, you could literally just like snake your gorilla arms around the corner, shank a dude in the neck, and never be on the other side of the hallway.
Yeah, there's also, since he has dexterity and strength bonuses, I mean, you need strength, dexterity, and constitution to be a good barbarian, because I think your dexterity also goes to your armor class, so that wouldn't be bad for a barbarian either.
So long as you are not wearing armor.
Yes.
Oh, bugbears are one of those things that. Oh wait, no, this is barbarian. It's like, do bugbears get bonuses for not wearing armor? You said barbarian.
Yeah. It's like, I mean, with any barbarian, you get those bonuses if you aren't wearing armor.
Correct. You just get even more bonuses because you're a bugbear. Who just joined?
Yeah.
Who's there?
Oh, it's Becca.
Oh, it's Becca.
Hi. So I tried to put something in chat, and it wasn't working.
How dare you?
I know. So just to let you know, the whole thing with the bugbears
And you were saying, Ian,
Are you just gonna talk over her as she's saying things?
Yeah. He can't hear
Do
me.
you have her muted in Discord?
Yes.
No, I don't think so. I think I should have her.
Well, you clearly don't, because she was in the middle of saying something.
It was just turned. I'm sorry. It was just turned way down.
You shut your mouth. The woman's talking. Becca, please
Yes,
continue.
she is.
So the way that the bugbears actually would prepare the heads of their victims and use them as that alert system was actually imagined because of Vlad Tepes and how he would set up victims' heads around the camps of former slaves that he was rescuing or his soldiers' camps. So they would actually pin the eyes open so that way it always felt like someone was watching the people trying to sneak into camps. And their mouths would be open and they would actually put like bees and things in the mouths to make noises. So if you bumped the heads, the bees would come out and like cause the people to freak out.
So
I thought that was kind of cool.
That is very cool, and that kind of leads into this little bit here that I was looking for it, couldn't find it, just found it. A gang of bugbears that gains the favor of Hergek and Grunkle in this way might find that the head will emit a shout when an enemy gets too close, in the fashion of an alarm spell. So, yeah. Imagine you're walking through just like a corridor of heads on spikes, trying to be stealthy, and then one of the heads just screams at you. It's
You just hear that
terrifying.
fucking gopher yell, just ha!
Yeah, ha!
Well, realize that bugbears can also, depending on they have that, they can actually choose the voices that come out of it. So you could literally have a field of heads screaming like baby cries or like the sounds of children. So you can really play some really intense psychological games with that.
Sometimes the heads of people who have information the bugbears need to speak their secrets amid blubbering pleas for mercy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's fucking terrifying. Totally not going to steal that for a future encounter or anything. So, Becca, since you have quite a few bits of insight for bugbears, do you have anything else to share?
I think that some of it is pretty funny because you can have a bugbear that's extremely aggressive in a lot of ways, but I had a player who actually played a bugbear almost like an autistic child because little things keep them very highly entertained. So you can give them like a puzzle and that can keep them entertained the entire time you're having a meeting with like dignitaries or lords. You just kind of give them something little to play with in a corner and they will give up halfway through and take a nap. And it's like, if you don't have them being engaged for like their verbal prowess, which they're not really known for, you can literally distract them with like a laser pointer in the corner. It's great.
Yeah, Me personally, I kind of want to avoid that as a DM because I've played games with people that are not really willing to speak up a lot of the time. And, you know, we went sessions without them really saying anything. They were just kind of there. And, like, to me, that's not very fun. I want people to be engaging. I want people to interact and not have to be prompted every single time to
So
join in.
I agree with that a lot, but the way that they did it, I think, is what really sold it, because he would go
True.
up to, like, they would be having these meetings, and he would go up to, like, their kids and sit there, and it'd be, like, him and all the kids sitting there playing the games. So he'd be getting information, and then, like, it's kind of like they would be walking out afterwards, and they're like, he told us this and this, but I don't really believe that. And he's like, well, his kids told him he's screwing the mistress. And, like, they're like, when did you find that out? And he's like, I was playing with them with my puzzle. And they'd be like, who's the mistress? And they're like, oh, the bad lady. Who's the bad? Like, it's like, but it would be very childlike. Or, like, he'd go up to, like the maid, and he'd just be like, I want snacks. And so, like, they take him down to the kitchen to get snacks to kind of, like, not upset him because he's this massive bugbear. And he'd just sit there in the kitchen and listen to people talk. And, like, he didn't understand, his character didn't understand what was important about a lot of the stuff. But, like, he could answer all these questions because he's overhearing all these conversations, and the cooks know everything.
Kids
And it
say
was
the
like-
darndest things.
Kids say the darndest things, and staff know everything. So, like, he would just sit there and he'd be like, I don't understand why this is important, but I'm bored, so I'm just going to listen in. Like, no one's helping me with my puzzle, and I'm not figuring it out, so I can either take a nap or listen to them talk.
Yeah. I
So-
mean, they are basically giant children. I mean, they reach
They
adulthood at the age of 16, minimum 6 feet, up to 8 feet tall, and between 250 and 350 pounds. Like, these are massive fucking children.
I think when you play a bugbear, or any monstrous race, for that matter, you also, you were saying earlier, Ian, that there's not a lot of downsides to playing them. I was like, the fact that they are not normally a character played, therefore not normally a character seen in society, is sort of the downside, because you, as a player and DM, get to play with that as like, okay, what's the social ramifications of walking through a
Right.
quote-unquote
And-
civilized town as a monster.
And I should have clarified, when I say that there's no downsides, I mean, like, there's no downsides on paper. For example, whenever
Yeah.
we go to touch kobolds later on, a downside to that race is you have disadvantage while in direct sunlight. Like, on paper, that is a disadvantage.
Right.
As far as, like, bugbear traits, there's really not a whole lot of disadvantages here, except maybe you're just bigger size. You may have to, the DM may decide, you know, you got to go a little bit slower through something. But if he doesn't, if they don't decide to pull the race card, like what you're suggesting, then on paper, there's no comparably downsides to them.
Right. Yeah, but it's honestly, playing characters like bugbears or goblins or anything like that, half the fun of playing one of those characters, unless you're in a area that is mostly quote unquote monstrous races, part of the fun of playing those characters is like, okay, how is a human or an elf or a dwarf going to deal with me just strolling through their town?
Yeah.
Burn it
Which has
with
been a
fire.
lot of fun with Brick, which I don't know if you've noticed, but I've kind of dialed back the people being in awe about you because people have heard about you now.
Right, yeah. I kind of caught on to that a little bit, but it was always really fun for me, especially in the early days. People like turn around like, what the heck are you? I don't know.
Your guess is as good as mine, man. I just woke up one day. Fuck.
On the machine!
I'm the machine!
I am
No.
me, to quote Zahn.
Now, to kind of go off of what he was saying, I did have a friend who made a very valid point of when she played monsters. She said when she played a drow, if she was concerned about how people would react to her in towns, she could, like, get pigment to dye her skin, or she could hide under a cloak or something like that. Bugbears do not have that ability. They are too big and too rambunctious to be able to even, like, try to blend in. So
So get a big
In-
cloak.
I
But I
also
mean,
don't
just
think that they
their
would
sheer
want to.
they really wouldn't. It's kind of like with again, I'm going back to the autism thing. With Murphy trying to convince him to wear a mask in public when COVID happened was a struggle. He didn't understand why he needed it. And you
Yeah.
can't really explain to him what's going to happen. Because he just doesn't understand. It's the same thing with Bugbears. You can explain to him all day long and be like, look, like, they're going to be mean to you. You're going to be mean to you. And they're going to be like, oh, they want to fight me because they're honoring my gods. Like, this is a great thing. And they don't understand, like, no, they're like, and a really cool thing to do with that character is having that realization of they're not being my friend. They're not honoring my god. And like that realization is a really, like, I've seen people play those, of that realization of they don't actually like me. And that could be a heartbreaking thing if done correctly. Like, because they don't have the ability to hide who they are. And unlike with some of the other more intelligent monsters like gnolls or things like that, who can actually understand the ramification, bugbears can't do that. They don't understand the ramifications of why people are mean to them. And it's kind of heartbreaking.
Could be really funny too, though.
Oh yeah.
Depending on whose hands it is, whose hands the character is in, I should say.
Yeah.
Well, let's move on a bit. Since we're doing a bunch of theory crafting here, here's one that I had, and I think I talked to a few of you about this before, but I'm kind of curious to see what, now that more of you are here and even the Twitch chat might be able to weigh in. So, for the understanding of how long rests work, you take a long rest, you get your spell slots back, you get your health back fully. Let's say that you are able to drink a potion that makes it so that you cannot, nor do you need to take a long rest. You do not suffer exhaustion. It basically just resets your energy reserves for the sake of the argument. However, that would technically mean that you would not be able to recover your spell slots, your feats, your traits, or your HP. Technically, you could get your HP back because you would have 8 individual hours of short rests, and you could just roll your hit dice. But I'm curious to hear what you guys think about, if this were the case, would you still allow them, if they sat and did nothing for 8 hours, they were just awake, would you allow them to get their spells back, their feats and their traits and everything? Or would you do more like, you get the advantages of a short rest plus like arcane recovery, which would really only give you like one of your spell slots back?
Well, I'd probably add like a clause that as a kind of ritual, I suppose, if you sit still for like 10 minutes, you can opt to like have your spell slots regenerated if you're like intending to give them the full benefits of a long rest.
Okay. Zeke?
We've talked about this a little bit before, and I think you kind of worded it a bit differently this time, which made me think of, like, if you're using this potion to skip a long rest for the purpose of, we cannot stop, we need to keep going, we're on a time constraint, we should not take a long rest. So everyone pops one of these potions. That way, instead of doing nothing for 8 hours and wasting time, we just keep going. If that's the case, then I would say only give them the benefits of a short rest, because ergo, you are not taking a long rest. But you even worded it to where they take the potion and then they do nothing for 8 hours. That to me is like, well, then what was the point of the potion?
Well, the point of the potion in that aspect, from my own theory crafting, is technically for a long rest, I think you only need like 6 hours, but a long rest is technically 8, because I think they're factoring in that you're going to be awake for like 2 of those hours to give watch, because you usually do it in like 3 different shifts: the first shift, second shift, third shift. So your sleep is being interrupted by a 2-hour spat. So if, for the sake of the argument, you say that you're going to put up Liam's tiny hut, but you've got to get moving. Like you were on a time crunch, you've got to get moving in the next 6 hours or you're going to lose ground. Well, everyone goes to sleep, but the one person that pops a potion, they're literally not doing anything but sitting there and keeping watch. They're still technically resting, they're just awake for it. So in that aspect, that's why I was thinking, if they literally are sitting there resting like a short rest, but just for the full 6 hours of a rest, would you still allow a full recovery?
If the purpose was to just make sure they had one person on watch, then yeah, if they're literally doing nothing, then I would say, obviously up to the DM, but I would be a bit more lenient on that and considering if they should get the benefits or not, or maybe I don't know. That's a weird thing because.
Yeah, I know. It fucks with my brain. I can't come up with like a solid answer.
Yeah, part of me feels like it's like, well, they didn't take a true long rest, so should they get the benefits of a true long rest? Also, I looked up the long rest rule, and it's 8 hours long of rest. No more than 2 hours can be anything like light activity.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's technically 6 hours of proper rest, 2 of a basically short rest.
Right.
Metal, you were saying?
I was gonna say, like, I guess it really depends what the potion is intended for. Like, is it intended to completely supplement a long rest, or is it just a kick of go-go juice to keep you going through the night without, downside?
I would say
really
that's
would
a bit of a
depend on
trick
the
question,
item.
really. Because, technically speaking, like, I think Zeke and I were talking about this before, too. Like, the immovable rod. In the grand scheme of things, it's kind of a really fucking useless item. Unless you use it cleverly. Like, in Critical Role, spoiler alert, Critical Role Campaign 1, they literally dimension door inside of a dragon's stomach, and then plant the immovable rod, and then cut their way out. So the dragon literally has to, like, rip a hole in its side to escape, because the rod doesn't move. So in the sense of this potion, it's like, I don't know that there should be a specific purpose for the potion, because you could use it in very interesting ways. Like, let's say you slip it into a guard's drink, and he's like, why the fuck am I awake? I'm panicking. I'm not tired. What the fuck? I gotta get to sleep. I got work in the morning. What the fuck? So you could use it in that aspect, in which case he would not get a long rest because he is panicking, doesn't know what's going on. But, and like we were saying before, if it's to, like, everyone else is in the wagon asleep and you've got to go, and you take a shot of it, you give a shot to the horse, and you two just go, I would say no, you wouldn't get the benefits of a long rest or short rest, but you wouldn't suffer exhaustion either. But in the instance that I was saying, you're taking a nap inside Lehman's tiny hut where, like, nothing can hurt you or target you or anything, and you're literally just keeping watch, then I would say, yeah, you would get all your spell slots and traits back because you are physically resting. You're just alert the whole time.
Well, in the same vein as what Metal was saying, is like, what is the purpose of the potion? And it kind of brought me back to, like, because we've all been in a situation where we might find a homebrew item on D&D Beyond or something, but they don't really explain the rules well of the item. You're like, okay, well, how does this work? How do I rule this? Mm-hmm. And that's an important thing, to be specific of what the magic item does. To kind of appease both those ends, though, you could do the same thing that they do with health potions and just make it different levels. You might have the lower level one be, oh, this just keeps you awake for 8 hours without these effects of exhaustion, while a maybe better made one will you can pop it and automatically get a long rest without actually taking a long rest.
That's a solid argument, actually. I hadn't thought of that.
So, just to kind of feed off of that, when I was DMing, just because, like I said, half the time it was like herding cats.
I mean half.
No, you guys are very tamed compared to my people. I actually, what I would do is, it was very much like the Rumpelstiltskin kind of thing, is you can have what you want, but you're gonna pay a price for it. So
True.
let's say that they would do all that. Well, at the end of it, they went into a coma for 24 hours. After like a solid amount of time, once the adrenaline wore off, they went to a coma for 24 hours. So they better have gotten themselves to a location that was safe before then. Or
Pretty interesting take.
Or let's say, like, yes, it's a normal health potion, but you have to get, like, a dragon's claw or something to be able to up it up to that level. Well, how are you going to get that? Well, you have to go get it by yourself. Or you have to spend the gold for it. And you're probably going to get a little messed up to go get one. So, like, things like that. Like, yes, you can have what you want, and it will definitely help you out, but there's going to be consequences to doing that. So you have to weigh, each person in the party has to weigh, am I willing to pay that price for something that's going to benefit the party? Is everybody going to take the health potion that knocks you out for 24 hours? Or is everybody except for one person, and that means they're vulnerable during the encounter, but they're the only ones who are conscious at the end of it?
Yeah.
So that kind of stuff was very much, I used to call it the Rumpelstiltskin principle, because magic has a price. Are you willing to pay it?
So what we've got so far is higher tier potions give better benefits, or big negative after the duration, forced sleep after potion duration is done kind of deal.
It could be a little bit of both, to be honest, because she's right. I mean, something this high level does probably need to have a balancing negative effect, but she pointed out, like, you could have different ingredients for different effects. So, like, if you get all the right ingredients, you can minimize the negative effects, but if, say, you don't have the time or ability to get those, you just have to deal with the negative effects.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's kind of like a hangover cure. Like, you can go, but at the end of it, you're going to suffer, like, massive exhaustion levels of migraines, nausea, things like that. And if you had, like, a hangover cure, that would help you. Like, if you could make one. But if you don't have it, then you're suffering with that until they wear off. And that usually, depending on how many of the potions they took, it was usually 24 hours for each potion.
Yeah. Well, I'm actually going to have to keep those notes because I may make a new item at some point. Maybe.
I got you.
I wish.
What?
Maybe. I don't know. I don't know what's in your mind.
Me either.
I don't want to.
Me either.
Yeah.
All right. Well, any last remaining thoughts on that before we skip on to a new subject?
I will say this, is if you want to get really technical with it, you can also base the lingering effects based off of race.
That's
or
racist.
affiliation. True. But, like, let's say you have, let's say, like, you have to add a dragon claw in order to make a potion work. Well, what if it doesn't affect dragonborns because they're dragonborns? So that
Cut
doesn't
off
work
your
for
hand
that.
to make it.
I think
So-
you're inching into the realm of overcomplication at that point. Decent thought.
Yeah, but it's also really funny watching them, like, all freak out because, like, let's say with Brick, well, Brick wouldn't be able to use a hangover potion. Let's say.
Yeah,
Maybe it
but
doesn't
you also
affect
wouldn't
him.
be able to be hung over either.
No, but I'm saying, like, if it was, like, the effects of, like, one of those health potions was the, like, you act like you're hungover, and a hangover potion would help, but it wouldn't affect Brick.
I mean, honestly, if Brick
do
just doesn't want to have to sleep, he just needs to go stand out in a lightning storm and he's golden. Well, bronze, but, you know.
Hi, I'm Zon. I'm your personal battery. How can
Yeah.
I help you?
Father, I need a recharge. Hold still.
The Energizer Bunny has a new definition.
Oh
Just
my
gets
God,
shock and
dude.
grasp
It's like,
ready.
no, it's like, Father, I need a
Shocking
charge.
crash.
Stands outside, just all of a sudden a fucking thunderstorm comes out of nowhere. You see Zon in, like, some evil, like, mad scientist laboratory. It's alive!
Thor and
I don't
Iron
know.
Man over here.
In Becca's example, getting the dragon claw for the potion, and then mentioning the dragonborn. Why did I just picture, like, us asking Nim for his toenail clippings?
Zon,
Yeah.
substitute it. This is the second time today we're asking one of our characters for toenail clippings.
and
I must have missed that first part. Sad.
Yeah, well, I mean, it wasn't on stream.
Oh no,
Gotcha,
no,
gotcha.
no. We were talking about getting the iron filings off of brick.
Off of
for
brick, so it's-
For an undisclosed
lightning
reason.
storm?
Yeah, for an undisclosed
Oh.
reason.
Funny.
Because
You
you
don't
need
need to know,
iron powder or iron shavings. And it's like, hey, Brick, come here. Thank you.
Give me, give me a toenail clippings.
Iron shaving.
I was thinking you just pick them up and you
This
use
is
them like
pure
a flint and
steel.
steel, and you just like scrape a sword against like. It's like I didn't know I could do that.
Just cheese grater it.
Yeah. Oh. Ugh. All right.
But
Moving on. So I have my own personal preferences, and that's what we use in my campaign. But I'm curious what each of you feel on how do you handle crit rolls? Because so far as I've really heard, there's two main ways to do it. You double the result of the dice rolled, or you double the rolled dice. So let's say that you roll a natural 20, and you have a 2d6 plus 6 damage, whatever. In the double result, you roll the 2d6, you double that result, add the 6. In the double rolled dice, you roll 4d6, and then add that other 6. Discuss.
Yeah, I personally, as a player, I don't like doubling the dice because
The dice result or the rolled dice?
I don't like doubling the rolled dice, like the amount of dice, because generally I will look at all the numbers that pop up and I'll be like, oh, well, I got a lot of ones, or, it's very like high variance on like whether you get a lot of highs, a lot of lows, or it's just average. Like on an average or high roll, yeah, it feels good. But if you get a couple lows, you're just like, oh, well, I might as well not have crit at all. But with a doubled amount, I just roll the amount, and I'm just like, if it's low, I'm like, hey, at least it's doubled.
Yeah. I will counterpoint that in saying, as a person who's played a campaign where it was double the amount that you've already rolled, there are a few things more disappointing than getting a crit and like, yes, and then rolling 3 ones, and you're like, well, great.
I kind of just prefer. Maybe it's just the kobold brain that's like the more clicky clacks means more chance of bigger numbers, and
Yeah.
I think that's just the way that I look at it. Is that if you're rolling like a 2d6 and you roll 2d6, it's like, well, that was really underwhelming. But now you get to roll 4d6. Oh, buddy, he's gonna die. Yeah,
I know that nobody's going to give two shits of what I think in this aspect because, me. But I personally think I think either or could really work. Like, obviously, I would argue that me and my smooth brain really do like just rolling more dice because it's just fun to roll a lot of dice at a time. But at the same time, oh man, look at this 17-10 I get to roll. You rolled a 23. Well, at least I tried.
I'd be really interested to see, like, a statistician really looking at it and seeing, is there a benefit to just doubling a rolled result compared to rolling more? Like, if you just had the...
I'm actually Googling that right now. If you roll more dice, you have a higher chance to roll higher. Google says, generally speaking, when you have a greater number of small dice, your rolls are less swingy, meaning there are better odds at rolling the average, but you have worse odds at rolling higher numbers. Interesting.
I mean, that kind of makes sense. More dice means a consistent average, like middle ground, but not quite... Yeah, because I mean, if you have less dice to roll, but you're doubling it, you're either going to, generally speaking, you're probably going to be either really shit or really great. So yeah, that kind of makes sense.
Yeah, but at the same time, someone else counterpoints, like if you roll one die, if you roll a d6, there's a 1 in 6 chance of rolling a 6. Each additional die improves your chances. Or does it? I don't know. That's so weird. Now I'm
Numbers, I just want to punch kobolds.
Aw, Paz, we're sorry. He doesn't speak for all of us.
No, I can punch kobolds.
I just want to punch everyone.
I just said he doesn't speak for all of us. I didn't say he didn't speak for you.
Never said I
Not
wanted to
our
punch
kobolds.
Pez. I can punch a bad
I'm
kobolds.
just talking about kobolds in general, and I just feel bad about Pez. Could we not pick another race of someone that's not in our party? Can we just punch
I
bugbears?
just want to punch bugbears.
There we go.
Dude, have you guys don't even. Have you guys fucking seen Man Bear Pig in South Park?
He's
That
not a
fucking shit's
bugbear.
horrifying.
It's freaking horrifying.
Guys,
I still want to punch him. I just want
Cereal.
to. I want to punch a bugbear like it's a fucking carnival attraction where it's just like, how hard can you punch the man bear pig? I don't know.
How
Skip right
far
up
can you
and-
make him fall? Punch him in the nuts, see how far he dips.
So we're gonna make a deal with Man Bear Pig. Yeah, okay. So he's gonna go back in 10 years, where the carnage that he would have dealt now is gonna be increased by tenfold.
If he winces, you win $10.
Pick a prize for the top
Possibly a
shelf.
broken hand.
Not
Do
responsible
so at
for
your
loss
own
of limb or
peril.
life.
It's all fun and games until Man Bear Pig gets his revenge.
So another subject. Unless anyone else has any more bugbear carny puns to do? No?
Nope.
Nope,
Probably
okay.
have a few, but I'm good.
Right up
Okay.
and say no.
Moving on. As far as attribute points go, manual rolls versus point buy. And I've discussed this already today, but in the next campaign that I do, I will 99% sure going to be going into a point buy system versus manual rolls, just because the stats across all of my players is
You can say it. Go
varies
ahead.
wild.
Say
It varies wildly.
Yeah, go
Zon
ahead. Say it.
is
Zon's a
incredibly
piece of shit who rolled
very
really
strong.
high.
He's not a piece
Sorry.
of shit. He followed the rules and he got very, very good rolls. He's very strong. What pisses me off about it is how cocky you are about it. When I say, hey, I need you to make a wisdom save, and you go, oh, that'll be fine. I'll be great. I have a massive modifier. A douche. Hey, look, 19 and a half. And it's like, all right, I don't even fucking know why I bother. Versus, no offense, Kasumi, we've got Kasumi, who is probably got the least greatest stats of the party. And
Yep.
I'm terrified of making her roll a save because I know that she's just kind of squishy.
I'm squished.
Squishy.
It's your cockiness that bothers me, Zach.
Also, Zach, it's not just Zon. We have played with 3 characters so far, and yours.
3.
Yeah.
Have I done 3? I've only
We've
done
done
2.
Storm King's
It was
Thunder.
Storm
We
King's
did.
Thunder.
We did the temporary one that was off
The
stream.
Odyssey.
You mean the one with Ren?
Yeah.
You mean the one where in the first 3 fights I got downed every single fight?
That
You
has
still-
nothing to do with your saving throws.
Yeah, your stats were still
Just because you
retarded.
played like shit doesn't mean that the stats were shit.
Well, no, he was. In all fairness, he was a warlock, so his HP
Ren
pool was
was
generally
not that-
low.
Ren was not that bad shit.
Hold on,
crazy.
I will pull it up right now.
Bitch, I'm pulling it up right now myself. Fuck you.
To give
Oh,
the
where
viewers
is it?
right now an example of his
Yeah.
current character in my campaign, his lowest stat is a 12, shortly
Zon
followed
was
by a
nothing-
single 14.
Zon, the only reason Zon ended up being batshit crazy at the very end is because you decided to give him a chess piece that put him at 22 charisma. That was your fucking fault. He has a 10 in strength, 13 or a 16 dexterity, 18 constitution, 12 intelligence, 16 wisdom, and 22 charisma. And I'm almost positive he's taken the feats that have given him more points.
Yes, but you are missing the point that if we went by a point buy system, your stats, no matter what armor I gave you, would be nowhere near that at level 8. Yes, I gave you an overpowered piece of armor.
No, you
So
didn't.
fucking
No,
what?
he's talking
Hold on.
about me. He's talking about me.
Oh,
I wasn't talking about you.
sorry. Zon and Ren are so close together, it's really hard for me to pluck them
They're
apart.
both bunnies.
They're both bunnies. Yeah, it's difficult.
Mm-hmm.
I like how you just stop at bunnies.
No, they're racist. It's okay. Don't worry.
The
Racist. Racist against bunnies. All bunnies are the
You know-
same.
All your bunnies are the same.
Yeah.
Fuck you, metal.
So let me real quick I'm gonna pull up make a random character, and I'm going to go through the point buy system. So for anyone who may not be fully aware, when you do a manual roll for your stats, you roll 4d6 and you pick the highest. That's how the manual rolls work, and you can distribute those any way that you want. When you go through a point buy system, you have a total of 27 points to use, and you can distribute those points however you want across the board, but you only have 27 points. The most with the point buy system that you can only give yourself a maximum of 15 in a stat. So like, if I wanted strength to be my biggest stat, I could only give it a 15. If you're going via the manual rolled system, you could get, 16 and 3, 18?
Yep.
So you could give yourself an 18 on your stats. That's really fucking high. So, I could technically put 15 in 3 of my stat blocks and have no more points anywhere else. It'd be 15, 15, 15, 8, 8, 8. 8 is like the minimum amount that you really have. You can't go lower than 8 in a point buy system. So you really have to divvy your points where you would want them to give yourself the best chance. Now, granted, as the game goes on, you level up and you put your tribute points in places. You can get to where Zahn is now, just way later in the game.
Yep.
Yeah.
Now, with all that being said, sorry, go ahead.
Oh no, I was just gonna say, because I play with your campaigns, but then also James, aka my husband, is also a DM, and I will say with the point buy system, it does seem that those character balances seem to be a lot more. I'm trying to think of the right word to describe it. The balances between the characters when you use point buy seem to be a lot more compatible with a team versus if we do straight rolls, because then you do have that possibility of having Zahn-like rolls and then having rolls that are garbage. Because you can still roll 3 2s and a 1 and just re-roll that 1, and I mean, if you get a 6, great, but you get, like, still, like, you're not going to have great rolls if you are just shit out of luck. So
Yeah,
I've just noticed the point buy system, it's a lot more balanced.
Yeah. I gotta throw in my 2 cents here because I'm about to have to dip out. I'll hopefully be back soon. But just throwing my 2 cents. Yes, point buy definitely far more balanced, and I like that. However, it makes it a little bit more difficult for certain multi-classes, because you need a lot more points spread out across a lot more stats. For certain ones, and also the point buy makes feats a lot more difficult because I love the feat system and I like taking a lot of feats. But if you're point buy, you need to use those every 4 levels when you would either get a bonus to your stats or a feat. You need to use those to up your stats so that you're not left behind usually. So it has its pros and cons.
Yeah. I guess just what I'm looking to avoid for the next campaign is having that one singular god tier character that just nukes everything, and then have everyone else that's just sort of normal.
Right.
I think it also very much depends on who you have playing as well. Because let's say you have that one like god tier character, and then you have some other characters who aren't rolling as well. You also add in a lot of like really cool background that you can do with that. Like, is the god tier character going to be like a selfish asshole and just like move forward? Or
No.
is he gonna take over as like leadership of the group? Is he gonna take over as protector? Also, like, how are they, like, the people who rolled lower, are they going to overcome that? Like, how are they gonna like figure out their characters and be able to like work around those low rolls?
That's
So
fair.
I mean, it kind of depends. Like, do you want to make sure that everybody is equal from the start so that way they can kind of build that camaraderie that way? Or do you want them to have to build a camaraderie more in that, like, adverse kind of situation where everybody isn't even-footed, they're a little off-footed? And I also think it also depends. Do you have players who are, like, very, like, old, like veteran players? Have they played before? Would that kind of off-balance system be something that they could navigate correctly? Or are they newer players who may not know how to build those bonds in D&D quite yet, and would probably be easier if they were all on that kind of solid level?
That's a fair point.
Issue that you run into with, so outside of Zon, the issue that you run into with me is coming from a very heavy MMO background and a lot of like games that are like D&D is pretty much fucking MMO, just without actually playing the MMO part in a video game.
Fair.
Part of the enjoyment of that is min-maxing. Not that it's seeing where your character can go. And that doesn't just mean min-maxing in combat. Like, do I like min-maxing in combat? Obviously. I enjoy fighting. Kind of a thing. But, like, I've seen people min-maxing with D&D characters where they don't ever have to fight. If they've maxed out their ability to persuade or what would be the subterfuge or deception, I guess would be the better word.
Deception, persuasion, that kind of thing.
Yeah, they never have to fight because they can just talk themselves out of any fight ever.
Yeah.
And that's obviously not my way of doing it, but...
No, he is very heavy into the intimidation factor.
Obviously.
Like, you guys fucking shaming me like nobody's business today. Oh, fucking come on.
Well, no,
But
that
I
was
mean, like,
actually
that's
that was actually praising you. Like, I actually agree
Oh,
with
no.
the intimidation factor.
Yeah, it's
But I mean,
like,
like-
Sorry, I gotta dip out. I'll be back. Bye.
okay.
Hi.
Okay, bye.
I don't believe you'll be back.
No, I don't either. Let's just end the stream now.
You'll never be able to
He like he shows up an hour later, like, where did everybody go?
everybody go?
That'd be a great fucking prank. Let's do it.
Just delete the Discord.
So sad.
Anyway, sorry, Zach. Were you continuing?
Well, yeah, so that was it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like, I mean, realistically, regardless of how cocky or anything like that I feel, I do also, like, recently I have tried not absolutely fucking demolishing everything
You have
as
been very
hard
good
as I
about it.
can.
You have been
Like-
very good about holding back.
And it's just like, in situations where Zon would not hold back, I have not held back, sorry.
I know what you
But in situations that, Zon may not really give two flying fucks about, he's not going to sit there and fucking... Oh,
Yeah,
hey, look,
Cough in the corner.
red mist.
Yeah.
If I'm being perfectly honest, I really, it's a selfish thing on my part that when I ask you for a save or something, you're just like, oh yeah, no, it'll be fine. I got this. It'll be fine. Oh yeah. Oh no,
That's psyching
I gotta
that's
roll
psyching
a
myself
wisdom
up.
check. Oh, it's like it infuriates me. It just makes me want to kill Zon.
Listen, that's psyching myself
Just
up.
have
Lot
a
of-
giant bird from the sky just shit on him a couple times. It'll make him feel better.
Oh, his deck save. He'd be fine.
Listen, you gotta say whatever you want. You gotta psych yourself up. You're gonna roll shitty if you feel shitty
I know.
about it.
I
You're gonna
know.
roll great if you psych yourself up to roll great.
Well-
as far as I'm concerned.
Zach, I'm actually really interested what you think about this. I'm gonna
Oh
move on from a
god.
point. No, because it actually kind of leans into your min-maxing, and I'm really
I
honestly
thought
curious.
you were being sarcastic.
In this instance, no, I'm actually legitimately interested. Gonna move on to the multiclassing topic here. So, to give
Nick is gonna be so mad. That's something he was so looking forward to talking to about. That's gonna be hilarious. Talk
He
about
made-
it. Talk about it now.
he made his choice. So, which is really kind of a shame because one of the ones that he really ranted and raved about a lot as a good example of multiclassing was the Druid Barbarian. I'm not super familiar with the intricacies of it, but I know that you go into Barbarian far enough to get the Rage feature and the Bear Totem Barbarian. And then all of your other points go into being a druid. And the idea is that you turn into a bear and you rage, which basically just takes all of your damage in half. And I believe the bear totem, I need to look it up. It gives you some other resistances that you would normally not get as just like a basic barbarian raging. I think it's let's see. I was hoping that he would be in here to... okay, Path of the Totem Warrior. So... Bear, while raging, you have resistance to all damage except psychic damage. So, when you rage normally, that only really affects piercing, slashing, bludgeoning, and I think force. But with the bear totem, that includes elemental. So basically everything but psychic damage. So you're this big-ass fucking druid bear. Like, I think at the later levels, you get to actually turn into a dire bear, which is even more better. And you are literally resistant to every type of damage except psychic. You literally just go Hulk mode, bear mode, and just wreck fucking everything. And I think, if my memory serves correctly, as a druid as a higher level, when you're in wild shape, there are, I think, some spells you can cast while in your wild shape. I'm going to have to check in on that.
I think it's limited.
Huh?
It's limited to what spells they are. I think there's like two or three of them that you can really utilize, but and they have to meet certain criteria to be able to be used.
Right, but they do still exist, and the only other thing that I could think of that might hinder that is that while you were raging, you cannot technically cast spells.
Yes.
Because you cannot concentrate hard enough. However, if you're a big-ass fucking dire bear, who the fuck cares?
Right.
Oh no, you lose your temporary hit points and pop out a dire bear. Well, guess I'll cast a spell, turn back into a dire bear, and rage all over again. Like, it's ridiculous. Like, it's honestly one of the coolest things that I think I've ever heard. And
it's funny because you guys say this dire bear thing. This isn't D&D, but it's literally it fits this situation so perfectly. I played what is it? I played Joe up at the store in a game of Infinity.
Friends, tabletop hobby friends.
He gets to take a literal fucking man bear, and when I say a man bear, this motherfucker is about like a story and a half tall. And I'm like, oh, that's pretty cool. I'm like, what does he have? He has a hammer with literally 4 sticks of C4 explosive on the end of it that he hits you with. And I'm like, well, at first I was scared. Now I'm fucking terrified.
Excuse you, it should be petrified.
I'm just as disappointed as you are.
I know.
Fuck
you.
So before I turn this over to Zach and his potential theory crafting, I do want to give an example of a bad multi-class that I myself experienced. And that would be my Barbarian. At the time, I had never multi-classed, so I did not understand how the leveling works. I also wasn't fully aware. It was the first time that I played D&D since like 3rd edition, and I was like 10, maybe 12, something like that. So I didn't remember the rules at all. And I did not understand that the spells that I would get as a bard, one, I couldn't cast when I was raging. Didn't know that at the get-go. And 2, I didn't realize that my spells only leveled up with my bard leveling up. So if I took like Healing Word, that Healing Word would only be 1d4 until I put enough points into my bard class to get that extra level. Like, I could never get a 2nd level spell if I was not putting points into bard. If I was just going straight into barbarian, basically none of that would ever level up. And I didn't understand that. And Zeke was kind enough to let me redo what spells that I had equipped to be ones that did not require a level up. So it was like Mage Hand, Levitation, Featherfall, shit like that. Really funny in thought and the idea. I mean, even fucking Tiny Tina did it with Mr. Torg. But in actual practice, it was one of the worst things that I probably could have done.
That could easily be fixed with raging, just not preventing you from casting spells in some situations.
But again, so if we look at like, think of your Guiding Bolt, for example. At first level, it does how many d6? Like 2d6 damage, something like that?
3d6. It's actually pretty high.
So 3d6 damage for a Guiding Bolt, and it gives advantage on the next target that's hit.
Yes.
For that to go up in damage, you have to get your Cleric level raised enough to unlock your 2nd and 3rd level slots. if you were to multi-class into Barbarian and start putting all of your points into Barbarian, you would never get those next levels. Now, granted, Guiding Bolt is still good. You'll still give advantage to the next person. But as you get higher and the enemies get a larger health pool, that 3d6 is piddly. So regardless of not being able to cast a spell while raging, I would not be benefiting from the spells becoming stronger themselves. Becca, you were saying something there.
Well, I was gonna say it's still really funny to think that you have like a bard that can't sing and then they just rage on stage and kick someone's ass for giving them shit.
Well,
I find that
actually,
funny.
he was a half-orc, and it was the whole reason why I now own a ukulele that's probably out of tune. That's actually pretty decently in tune, believe it or not. Anyway. He was a big half-orc barbarian with a tiny little ukulele. That was the whole gag.
That's cute though.
Yeah, again, it's a great thought, but in practice, it was just...
It fails.
It failed hard. I was really sad about it.
It's kind of like a cross between a pit bull and a wiener dog. Sounds cute and funny, does not work in real life.
So, again, to kind of explain for people that may not know how multiclassing works, the maximum level that you can reach in D&D is level 20. If you are multiclassing, when you level up, if you go, let's say that you are level 4 and you're going from 4 to 5, you have basically one level point, and you have to decide, are you going to give that level up to Barbarian or Bard? So by the time that I was level 7, I had 3 levels in Bard, and I had 4 levels in Barbarian. So I was technically kind of really far behind the rest of my party. Like, Zahn, you were a fighter, I believe. He was like really fucking strong. We had a paladin that could like really fucking heal people. He could fucking blow people up with his divine smite and shit. Like, he was doing all this awesome
And branding
shit.
smite.
Branding smite, that's it. And
Well, both.
I kind of felt like
Usually
I
one.
just, apart from standing there and being a somewhat meat shield, I didn't feel like I was really contributing, because while they were level 7, my main class, the Barbarian, I was 3 levels behind them.
Because you had to put 3 points in.
Because my whole idea was we didn't have a dedicated healer. We had a druid and we had a paladin who could more or less heal, but as far as like having a cleric that's like healing cleric, we didn't really have one. So I was like, well, I'll be a bard, because I see that they have this cool thing called like Song of Rest, where anytime we take a short rest and you roll a hit dice, you get the maximum roll no matter what. And I was like, that's awesome. I want to do that. I'll be a big dude with a ukulele. I'll beat people with it if I can find one that won't break. And yeah, it backfired. But that's how leveling up with a multi-class goes. You have to decide which of your multi-classes are going to get those levels, because you could be missing out on some really awesome late game features that you would otherwise, that you wouldn't get because you put points into another class. And generally, as far as classes go, if you're going to multi-class, normally you're going to want to get to at least level 3 to be able to unlock the subclass to get the benefits from that. That's usually what multi-classing tries to get you. Usually. Like with the Druid Barbarian, you want to get to level 3 so you can unlock the subclass of the Totem Barbarian to get that Bear Totem. And then everything else goes into Druid to make your bear form like just stupid, ridiculously strong.
Yeah.
So Zachara, have you dabbled at all in multi-classing and found anything that piques your interest?
I've contemplated a couple, but like for min-maxing, the biggest thing that you have to look for is when doing other classes is what classes, while retaining a low level, will give you the most return. 9 times out of 10, they can't be damaging. They have to be either buff or something similar to that, like related, so that even though that ability may not scale up, like for example, I think you guys said something about like the Druid Totem, whatever it is, that like makes other resistances not
the
thing.
Barbarian Totem, yeah.
Yeah. that's super great because you get what you need, and that doesn't have to scale any higher to get better. It already is doing what it needs to do at that level, and it's done. Like,
Yeah.
that's where I see it. It's just the biggest thing. Like, I've looked into multiclassing. I've seen, like, Fighter Rogue being really good. I've seen, like, Rogue Artificer being really good. I've seen Paladin Warlock, which is actually something I really toyed around with because you can have some really cool backstory with that, but at the same time, like, Warlock has some really fucking nasty melee shit. They're just so fucking squishy. Like, they're painfully squishy. So, like, playing, oh god, what is it? Pact of the Blade, I think it is.
Hexblade?
The Hexblade is one of the abilities they get.
Oh yeah,
But you take Pact of the Blade or whatever it is, and it gives you like the ability to attack twice in melee and do all these really cool things. And like you've got like so much utility shit, like being able to cast mirror image, where there are 4 of you, and like you're not gonna take hits, but it's still a die roll. Like you could still just just like anything out there, it's a die game. You could roll bad, and then all of a sudden you're on the floor dead.
Yeah.
Like, I think the most powerful one that I ever heard of is the one that you guys were talking about, which was like Barbarian Druid.
Well, so what if you stayed in the same like, what's the word I'm looking for? What if you stayed in the same like vein of spellcasting? So like the Warlock, I believe their spellcasting modifier is Charisma, right?
Yes.
So that's the same for Bards. So would a Bard Warlock be a good match just because of the sheer fact that their spellcasting modifier is the same? Like you don't have to have 2 big stats, like, and their spells.
If you can get, oh god, what is the singing dude? Bard.
The Bard.
If Bard is able to obtain, well, it depends on which you want to go. If you want to lean more into Warlock, if you want to lean more into Bard. With Warlock, you can stay relatively low and get some very good, like, 1 second here, let me pull it up.
Well, because Warlocks, you're basically forced to cast at max level no matter what. So you're going to be casting as powerfully as possible.
But that's not the thing that makes the Warlock useful, in my opinion. What makes the Warlock useful is, as level 5, let's say I'm level 5.
Sure.
I have Minor Illusion.
Okay.
I have Mirror Image. I have Shield. And I have Vampiric Touch.
So a lot of distractions, protection, and then lifesteal, right?
Yeah. And like, at level 5, Vampiric Touch is... hold on a second here. 3rd level... So it is 4d6, if I'm not mistaken.
Wow.
That's a lot of
that's a lot of damage.
health. And that's like basic bitch. Because again, like you said, Warlocks are always casting at like exactly what they need. If you're leaning into Bard and you're like, well, I want to play a Bard, but I don't want to sit in the back and, I want to have an oh shit button. Imagine a fucking Bard that can now have 4 Bards. And you have to pick whichever one of them is the real one.
Oh god, there's 4 of them trying to screw my wife!
Yeah. Like,
What did I just come back to?
It's one of those where, like,
Walk
I
away,
can
babe.
see
Walk away.
Warlock being very useful in that. I've actually, believe it or not, I've actually, like, dabbled with possibly taking Warlock for that exact reason on my Cleric. Just staying level 19 Cleric and going, like, level 1 or 2 just to get Mirror Image, because I have to make Ian's life harder, so imagine 4 Zons! It's like, it would be absolutely batshit crazy. Not to mention, Shield is brokenly amazing. 5 AC. Oh, hey,
Yeah.
look at me, my plate armor. I got 22. Probably, I don't know, level 20 what armor I'll have, but I've got 22 AC. Whoa, 27 now. Fuck you. I mean, like, I can see that being very useful, but it's, at the same time, it's outside of that, I don't see, like, I don't know, again, you have to forgive me, I don't know what Bard has that's very buffy. I don't know, like, if they get a lot of good buff stuff around, like,
I mean,
first, second, or
their
third level.
entire class is essentially buffing. I mean, you've got Bardic Inspiration, and depending on which college you go into, will determine like what you're able to. So the basic bitch bardic inspiration is like when you roll an attack and you have bardic inspiration. I think it starts at like 1d6. You can add a 1d or no. Is it a 1d4? I think it starts at a 1. I think it starts at a 1d4, but you can basically add a 1d4 to any ability check that you do. So you're trying to do a you're like, "Okay, guys, I'm going to go and try to sneak in here." And the bard is like, "You're going to do just fine, motherfucker." You're like, "Okay, you have a 1d4 inspiration." You go in, you roll, and you're like, "It was like a 13. I don't know that that's good." You don't say what you rolled. You roll the d4, add the bardic inspiration, and then you tell what the combined total is. If you say, like, I rolled a 14, and the DM says, "Well, okay, so you didn't quite," and you're like, I want to add bardic inspiration, it's too late.
It is D6.
It starts as a D6. Apologies. But then later on, you're able to make that affect, like, saves.
With certain combat oriented bards, you can actually use that inspiration on the damage.
Yes. So
Oh my
Bard is
God.
very buffy.
I just realized that a bard can choose to be proficient in perception. If you're a Haragon, your perception is fucking nuts. Yeah, I've got like a +8 in perception just because I'm a Haragon.
Yeah.
And now I could also be perceptive.
Well, you know another funny thing? As a bard, you get Jack of all trades level 1, which gives you half proficiency in everything. And then I think it goes up again later on, and it gives you proper proficiency in everything.
No, Haragons already have proficiency in perception. What is the thing where it's double proficiency?
Expertise.
So you would have expertise in perception.
Yeah, you
Yeah.
get Jack of all trades and expertise as a bard, which I think Rogue also gets expertise.
Okay,
Yes.
so this is one thing I was trying to figure out. So I'm actually like, I just said fuck it. I deleted a character that was just a throwaway character.
Fair. As you
And I'm
do.
just trying to sit here and like, what is? I could have bagpipes.
Focus.
Focusing.
Annoying would zombie with bagpipes.
Don't even. I will straight up put 1 level in bard. Don't fucking tell me.
I mean, actually, let's be honest. If you just want to be annoying with bagpipes, you don't need to be a bard. Just buy some bagpipes.
You literally
Yeah.
don't need to know how to play bagpipes to be annoying with bagpipes. I think it'd probably better if you don't.
Yeah. So
It's the world's
Jack of all
most
trades,
expensive
sorry.
whoopee cushion.
yeah.
That
So
is
Jack
true.
of all trades is level 2. Song of Rest is level 2 as well, which gives expertise. Bard College. Let's say Valor because I totally know what that means.
If you are actually
Arcana.
interested in going into bard, I would absolutely recommend really doing a deep dive in the colleges.
No,
because
no,
that will-
I'm not. I'm not.
I'm not saying just you. I mean anyone. Like,
Yeah.
definitely look at the colleges because that will severely shape how your campaign goes from then on.
So
Yeah,
if you do,
colleges are drastically different sometimes.
So that's fine. So let's just say hypothetically you do let's just say your primary warlock 3 levels in bard.
Okay.
So you're level 17 warlock 3 levels in bard. You get proficiency medium armor, which to be honest as a warlock, I don't know if you get that, but that sounds great.
Medium armor for a warlock? Yeah.
Shields.
Because warlocks can't wear armor.
They can. I just don't remember what I haven't progressed high enough to know what their end, whatever is.
They get light armor. Warlock does.
Yeah.
There
Unless
you
you go Hexblade, I
Warlocks are
think.
weak little fuckers.
So 3 proficiencies or
Oh, can I jump in here real quick? Just as
Yeah.
a
Yeah, while
So
he's
I-
doing his stuff, go for it.
So I will say the 2 biggest issues when it comes to actually playing a multi-class is 1, you pick a multi-class that have the same squishies. So like they're the same issues in both class. And because you think it sounds cool and you're going in and you don't realize that their weaknesses are in the same thing, so you're basically getting double the weakness. You're not meshing them together to kind of counterbalance each other.
So
The
you're-
other thing is I'm sorry.
You're just to kind of clarify. You're meaning like being like a sorcerer and a wizard, so you have like you're just super squishy versus being like
Yes.
a fighter wizard who's like, oh no, I'm out of spell slots. Rips his robes off. Let me show you how we did it back in my day, boys.
Yeah, so you're not
Okay.
you're not basically building like a good foundation. You're making it very you're basically sitting there on a house of sand because you've built yourself that you have the same deficiencies in both of your classes instead of using your classes to basically help each other and make each other better. You're basically just allowing it to be a giant target, like, this is my issue, and now it's doubled. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Am I explaining that well?
Yeah.
The other thing I would say is it also depends on the DM you have. Is your DM like super into backstory? Because some backstories when it comes to like multi-classes make sense. Like even though it didn't work out, the Barbarian was funny. And you could build a good backstory off of that. The Warlick Bard, you can build a good backstory on that makes sense. Sometimes people will force like a backstory that makes no sense, that just so that they can get their multi-class that they want. And it goes
Yeah.
against their entire backstory up to that point, and it makes it really hard sometimes for DMs who are backstory strong to kind of counterbalance that too. So I'll say that.
No, that's very. I mean, perfect timing that Pez pops in. He took the multi-class of Artificer, and I'm not going to spoil his backstory because he hasn't revealed it. Well, he's kind of revealed it, but it does make sense with his story. And I even had one other of the players in Tales of Archeron ask me to multi-class, and I said, "Well, why?" And when they told me, I was like, "No, I'm not going to allow you to multi-class for that reason because it literally makes no sense." There is literally nothing No, it wasn't Zeke. There is literally nothing hindering you doing what you want to do as you are now. Taking that multi-class for that reason is literally just going to hurt you.
Mm-hmm.
And I fully explained it out, and they were like, "Cool, great. I don't have to multi-class."
Yeah, as throwing my 2 cents, multi-class. So if you put all 20, say you get to level 20, if you put all 20 levels into the same class, that class has been specifically molded and shaped and play tested to be synergetic with the rest of that class. Like every single ability is synergetic with everything else because that's the way it was built. When you go into multi-classing, you aren't really trying to make a more well-rounded character. I would argue multi-classing is more for building a character that is good at one thing and one thing only. Like, for instance, Brennan Lee Mulligan, who I follow on the Dropout TV, the College Humor guy. He's a great DM, and he did a role. He did a level 20 one shot recently, and he multiclassed. He multiclassed the heck out of his character. He had Sorcerer, he had Rogue, he had, I think, Paladin, and he had so. And the reason he did that is because his character's entire thing was hit hard and hit fast. He had his role. Oh, I'm blanking right now on what it's called for combat order. Initiative, thank you. His initiative bonus was insane. And so he would go first, and when he goes first, he would hit really, really hard and take out a lot in one turn real quick. But then he's done.
What is it, like the Rogue Assassin? If you're first in the initiative order, you deal like max damage or something?
Yeah, he had his whole character figured out. It was hit hard, hit fast. But after that initial turn, he's very squishy and he's very vulnerable. So like it was a multiclass to show like you can multiclass in multiple things and be good at one thing. Whereas if you go all 20 levels into the same class, you're good at a lot of things granted in the same sphere of influence, but you're still good at a lot of things.
Right. I do want to touch base with you again, Zeke. Does anyone else have anything to add?
I mean, I've been reading.
Say that again, Pez. Sorry.
For what? What are we talking about?
We were talking about like good multiclassing, bad multiclassing. I actually used you as a reference just a second ago. I don't know if you're paying attention about how you went into Artificer. So real quick, Zeke. Of course, you left right before we started talking about multiclassing. I was only able to give the bare bones of the Druid Barbarian multiclass, and how the bear totem makes you resistant to everything, and then you turn into a dire bear and all that.
Right.
Can you give us any more elaboration while I sneak away and go get a refill on my whiskey, because we're nowhere near done and I'm having a great time.
Bare minimum.
Yeah, sure. I don't know if you'll be listening in for this, so I'm probably gonna touch base on some of the stuff he's already covered.
Oh, I'll be
but
quick. You go, Boo.
The idea behind this is, and like Becca was saying, I do have an actual backstory for this guy. But the idea of the class is, I love the, I think it's Circle of the Moon Druid, which is, it gives you a lot better wild shapes, and even further on, you can even transform into elementals, using your wild shape. And I think I saw the idea somewhere of combining Barbarian and Druid to where you get the bonus, which you rage, and then wild shape or wild shape rage, either or, which is where you wild shape. So you usually get a larger health pool, and then on top of that, with your Barbarian rage, all physical damage is halved, which then doubles your health pool. Well, I haven't gotten to the subclass yet for Barbarian.
Sorry, I just put my headphones on. Apologies.
Very good. For pure physical damage, if you, especially at that lower level where that is most common, you've basically doubled your health pool. Now going farther in to level 3, you take Totem of Barbarian, who Totem of the Barbarian, you can choose from a range of different animal abilities. But the one I'm looking at is Path of Totem of the Bear, which, like Ian said, it gives you resistance to everything except psychic damage. That's fire, thunder, lightning, everything. So you turn into, like he said, a bear, you rage, you have resistance to everything. You could go up against a dragon and it would have a hard time with you. And so that's pretty much the idea behind it. And then you just go into Druid the rest of the time, because Druid, especially their spellcasting ability, like clerics, they can just choose what spells they want each day because they get the entire list, are incredibly powerful spellcasters. So it was mainly just to take the unarmored defense, so you get that, so you don't have to wear armor, and the rage bonus to mitigate a lot of the damage taken. And you can use that in and out of wild shape. Granted, it's a lot less useful if you're trying to cast spells, because you can't cast spells while you're raging, but still.
So, can you correct me if I was mistaken, because I forgot to really look into this beforehand. Are you actually able to cast spells from wild shape? I know at the very least it's a very limited amount of spells.
I believe, I will double check myself right now, but I believe there is a class feature for moon druids that you can cast spells from wild shape, but I believe it's for a specific subclass. Let me check.
Well, that was going to be my other question. If you are going, well, while she's looking at that, maybe you can answer this for me, Zeke. If you are going the Totem Bear Druid Barbarian build, what would your personal chosen subclass of Druid be? Would you go Circle of the Moon for the potential to cast spells while you're in bear shape or whatever that one is? Or do you have one that you think would be better for that particular sort of build?
So for this particular build, I think it would be more, I think it makes more sense to do Circle of the Moon, because the main thing for Circle of the Moon for a very long time is the combat wild shape, which gives you better wild shapes and more powerful wild shapes than the average druid, because druid's wild shape ability, you only get a max CR 1/4 beast, which for an example that would be like a wolf, and that's for until you're 4th level. That goes up to 1/2, which would be like a crocodile at 4th level, and then at 8th level it goes up to a giant eagle, which would be CR1. However, when you are a moon druid, you gain the ability, let's see, I'm trying to find it, where is it? Yeah, starting at 2nd level, you can use your wild shape with a challenge rating of 1. So instead of waiting till 8th level to get a challenge rating 1 beast shape, you get that at level 2. And then, oh, sorry, no, that's at level. Let's see. Let me make sure, because I might be getting this wrong.
Like, you cannot cast spells in wild shape. However, you can activate spells on items.
Oh, interesting. But you can keep concentration, can't you?
No, you can't do any. It is unconditional that you cannot do any spells yourself in wild shape, but you can activate spells, trigger spells, and be a component in spells for other people.
Well,
interesting.
So that still raises the question: you cannot cast while in wild shape, but if you cast a concentration spell and then got into wild shape, is wild shape a concentration spell?
No, it's an ability. So I would just, if I was the DM, just personally, if you cast a concentration spell and then go into wild shape, because you keep all of your intelligence, wisdom, and charisma, so like your mental stats, I would say as long as you can keep concentration, it's fine. That's just my personal.
That being said, that would be accurate if you're not raging. If you're raging,
yes, if you were raging, that's a totally different thing.
Yeah,
yeah.
I was saying for a normal druid situation.
Yeah. If you're in a normal situation, then yes, it does say that you would be able to do it. But if you're raging simply because of how rage works, you wouldn't be able to actually continue with your concentration.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh, and Ian, I got clarification on the combat wild shape. So yeah, second level, because unlike a lot of other classes, you get your subclass at second level instead of third for druid. So at second level, you get that combat wild shape. So you get your
which circle
level
is that
1
again?
Circle of the Moon.
Circle of the Moon, right? Got it.
Yeah, and so you get that level 1 CR, which is challenge rating. It's how monsters are tiered or whatever.
Yep.
So you get the challenge rating 1, which normally you would only get at 8th level, and then starting at level 6, your challenge rating for your beast form is your druid level divided by 3. So if it goes up to CR2 at level 6, and then at level 9 it goes up to CR3. So you get some really powerful beasts.
Kind of early.
Really early on. It is a game changer. Now, granted, when you start out at lower levels, you can only do wild shape, I think, twice per long rest. But that's still bonkers.
The other side, and you may have touched on this already while I was away getting a refill. But with the combat wild shape with Circle of the Moon, you can use wild shape as a bonus action instead of an action. So that's already I'm going to use my movement, transform partway through it, and then just rip this man's face off.
Yeah, and if you were doing, say, the barbarian multiclass, you could say, I'm just going to act like a barbarian for now. I'm going to rage, I'm going to run up, I'm going to hit it with my weapon a bunch of times. That's my turn, because your rage is a bonus action. And then next turn, they get a few hits on you, your health goes down. It's like, I don't like that. Wild shape right in his face.
And then, on top of that, additionally, while you are transformed by wild shape, you can use a bonus action to expend 1 spell slot to regain 1d8 hit points per level of the spell slot expended.
Yeah.
I would argue that could be used while raging, because it's not technically a spell.
Yep, it's an ability. And not only so I mentioned earlier at level 6, it starts being your druid level divided by 3 to determine the challenge rating.
Yes.
It's also the same level that your beast attacks count as magical. So say for like a werewolf. Werewolves can't be damaged by normal bludgeoning, piercing, or slashing damage. They can, however, be hurt by magical weaponry, which your claws now count as.
Yeah.
Or same thing with any other creature that has that same ability.
It's wild, man.
Yeah. Now,
druids are fun.
You were asking earlier, would this work for any other subclass for druid? Absolutely, it would. I mean,
no, I was just asking for your own personal idea of what subclass of druid would you do with the barbarian, or is it moon?
Yeah. It for me, moon makes the most sense, but it would absolutely work with some of the others. Like for, I think, shepherd, Circle of the Shepherd is all about bolstering and buffing your beast companions. So say like you do summon beast, and you summon your 8 wolves or whatever. You can Circle the Shepherd has a lot of stuff that you can use to bolster those wolves to be even more of a pain in the butt.
Mighty Summoner. Any beast or face summoned or created by a spell that you cast gains the following benefits. They appear with more hit points than normal. 2 extra hit points per hit die it has, so just more HP. The damage from its natural weapons is considered magical for the purposes of overcoming immunity and resistance to non-magical attacks and damage. So,
yeah, that's Circle of Shepherd's whole thing. So then, say you you summon them, concentration spell. You wild shape. You're doing your thing. Most of them are taken out. Well, rage. Keep on going.
Yep.
Like it's one of those things where it's like it is absolutely interchangeable with a lot of the druid abilities.
Kirsten, you've probably played more than all of us combined. Have you ever attempted multiclassing? Have you had any successes, failures?
So I will be honest. When it comes to multiclassing, I tend to like to play casters.
Mm-hmm.
So personally, I was a bit intimidated by multiclassing because of how vulnerable casters can be. And I would throw around the ideas of potentially doing a duo caster multiclass, but then I ran into that same thing Becca was talking about where I could be hindering myself more by doing 2 caster classes and causing myself to have more of those disadvantages. So personally, I actually have not done any, just because I typically tend to prefer to play casters. So Kasumi's actually new for me because I'm not used to playing melee characters. But it definitely, I considered it. I know a lot of people that do on a regular basis and they swear by it, but since I am a caster preferred player, multiclassing hasn't really been something that I've been drawn to wanting to do.
Well, so I don't think Zeke was here for this, so I kind of wanted him to get a bit of a weigh-in on this. With what she was saying as far as like multiclassing different spellcasters, which I suppose the appeal to that is to gain access to more spells. I suppose the hindrance to that would be like if you're doing a sorcerer versus a wizard, that's the difference between intelligence spellcast modifier versus wisdom spellcast modifier. But if we go with the only one that I can think of is warlock and bard, they're both charisma modifier. So you technically get access to more spells by doing those ones. How do you think that fits?
So I actually really agree with Kirsten on this one, and that multiclassing is not set up well for casters, I think. Now, granted, I've seen people do sorcerer and warlock before, and a lot of times that is with warlock as the main one, and then a few points into sorcerer to get those sorcery points. So you can do a little bit of meta magic and kind of twist your spells a little bit. But personally, I think I've seen far more success with multiclassing multiple martial classes. A great example of this would probably be, especially multiclassing anything with paladin. We've seen from Joe Manganiello, who's a very famous celebrity who plays D&D. Character he rolled with, what? Yeah, Joe Manganiello. He rolled for years upon years with a paladin who took 3 levels of barbarian, which would help him immensely. He didn't take anything from unarmored defense, but he could use that rage to really bolster himself nicely in those situations. And I think I've seen a rogue paladin before. With 3, so mainly rogue and then 3 levels of paladin. So he would sneak attack and then smite them. That's really nice to do. So yeah, I think the benefits of multiclassing martial classes far outweighs the benefits of multiclassing for spellcasters.
I I just want this to be on record for the stream. I have the indescribable urge to redo Kip's art with a Pope hat.
Where did that come from?
Well, because Metal played a paladin before.
Oh, that's right. I forgot.
It's like, now I just want to see Kip with a Pope hat. And I don't know. Oh, there he is.
I am multiclassing.
Maybe I'll have that for the next Whiskey Wednesdays, just as some giggles.
Yeah, but I think it's much better for martial classes, and it's even easier for you to start out as a martial class and maybe dip into a spellcaster just to give some nice supplement. And we even have subclasses that reflect that now for fighter and for rogue and stuff like that.
Well, so then what do you think would be your ideal martial multiclass? Like, would you do a barbarian monk? Would you do paladin fighter, paladin barbarian? Like, what would your immediate gut, like, this could be good?
Artificer Druser.
Is an artificer technically a martial class?
No, I'm just saying. I've been trying to say that for a couple minutes, and my laptop died.
Oh, so what?
And then
what
I
was
was sitting
it?
next to Zeke, and no one could hear me.
Artificer, what was it?
Druid.
Artificer druid. Okay.
Is artificer a wisdom caster?
I don't know, but the idea
Let
of
me take a look.
a terrorist is fucking amazing.
Eco-terrorist.
Talked about that before.
We have, and still makes me excited.
Yeah, so her theory is putting, say, a druid who has a bunch of animals or stuff, and then making armor and gadgets for them to run around with and blow shit up.
And bombs. Don't ignore my bombs.
I won't. But yeah, as far as what my go-to martial multiclass, I think archer. Like multiclassing with a couple of different stuff to make a really powerful archer.
Real quick, the spell casting modifier for an artificer is intelligence.
Yeah, that's what I thought it was, because they're based off of wizards, I think.
So sorry, I was kind of distracted looking that up. You were talking about buffing a ranger.
So no, I actually, you might be able to take a few levels from ranger, but a lot of people have come up with very good ways of making archers without even touching ranger.
Archers, sorry, got it.
Yeah, that's from using fighter, using rogue, even dipping into bard a little bit. There's a lot of different, like if you're talking end of the game, level 20, here's how you do it from 1 to 20. People have come up with a lot of interesting builds to buff a really good archer, and you can use paladin in that too for smite. I wouldn't put barbarian in there, and monk, while it has a kind of weapons-based subclass, it's severely underpowered compared to the rest of the monk subclasses.
If anything, I think a barbarian monk would be fucking hilarious. Like, I can either rage and kick your shit in, or I can be calm and kick your shit in.
Well, if you want to look at barbarian monk, yes, and someone, so Matthew Mercer even kind of took that idea into his blood hunter. Because
I've looked at Blood Hunter, man. I'm just not. I've never been a fan of hurting yourself to deal more damage. That I don't like that. That's just a personal preference.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, I understand that, but for his werewolf subclass, the kind of monk barbarian style of build is kind of the foundation for his werewolf subclass, because it is based on dexterity and hand-to-hand combat while also taking way less damage. Because you're just built different.
Is this from campaign 3? Is that why I haven't heard of this before?
Oh no, it's just like it's on D&D Beyond. If you want to look at it sometime.
Yeah, which one is it? Monk or barbarian? That's
no. So what I'm talking about is for Bloodborne, and then subclass
Blood
is
Hunter.
Sorry, Blood Hunter. What did I say? Bloodborne.
Yeah. Order of the Lycan.
Order of the Lycan. Yeah, that's the kind of basis for this is the monk barbarian combination.
I'll look at that. You know what? I'm gonna add that for the next Whiskey Wednesdays.
I
It's just like, I
personally
don't-
am loving playing a blood hunter in my other campaign.
Yeah.
And
Really?
Actually, I think
it's a rule of cool, I will say, because it's
It
fucking
is.
badass in the middle of combat. I sit here and I run my blade across my bicep and it lights on fire. But that's, that's just me.
Yeah, I think.
One
Sorry,
of my
real quick. before-
characters is a bugbear blood hunter.
A bugbear blood hunter? You're going to have to
think
tell us about
before-
that here in a second.
Before we get too far away from it, I think Metal, you and I had started toying with your paladin character taking a few levels in Blood Hunter because he actually contracted lycanthropy. So we were talking about that, and
then he
kind of
had to go
playing
back
with-
and live in the boonies, so he never got to get into that. Metal like messaged me after, he's like, dude, I don't know what the fuck I'm gonna do. I'm supposed to be like this ultimate good, and now I'm fucking ultimate evil. I'm a werewolf. Am I gonna have to kill myself? I don't know what the fuck's going on.
I love how Ian's just like, I don't want to hurt myself for the sake of doing more damage. I really don't like that. Meanwhile, Zutroth is just like, yum, 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 yum. Like, just...
Well, this Zutroth also had no problem hurting himself, as we remember from him running into a horde of imps because he only took half damage when they died.
But he killed them all while singing.
He did.
If you're interested in seeing that, go back and look at campaign 1.
Oh,
Yep.
what a wild ride that was.
Yep.
Oh, the
That
assault
was funny,
on
actually.
Tribor.
I almost feel like we should really pick that back up again at some point, just cause.
Just for
I
the
mean-
fuck of it.
I would definitely. I'm more open to it now than I was before. Let me put it that way.
We may need to do some digging into that and see if we can get Max back.
Okay.
Dun dun dun.
So, are there any final thoughts on multiclassing before we move on to Kobolds?
Nope.
Okay, since Zach is the only one to answer, we're going to move on to Kobolds. So, I might actually touch on the advantages and disadvantages first because there's so much interesting lore that's going to take us a minute. So I'm going to get over the quick stuff first. So as far as the game advantages and disadvantages that I was able to find for Kobolds, they are considered small on the size chart, which has quite a few potential bonuses when it comes to in-game, especially depending on how the DM feels about it. So for the sake of being a small character, in my eyes, and I swear I read this somewhere, but I haven't been able to find it to confirm it, but a small character is able to hide behind a medium-sized character and use them for the purposes of stealth. At least, at the very least, that's how I've always viewed it personally. They also, as our last episode of Fools and Flagons Campaign 2, episode 31, we finally got to see the grovel, cower, and beg feat be used, which, as an action, you can look as pathetic as possible to distract your enemies, giving your allies advantage on attacks against enemies within 10 feet of you. Pez was able to do that while disguised as Canlin. Granted, no one fucking took advantage of it, but it was there. Pack tactics is a big one. Pez is always reminding us about pack tactics, and no one ever really tries to give him pack tactics, because pack tactics is amazing. But you get advantage on attacks if an ally is within 5 feet of your target. That can be melee. You could be within melee or ranged. So long as an ally is within 5 feet of the target, you get advantage. The only real disadvantage that I was able to find, I should clarify again, as far as textbook, pen and paper stats, you do get disadvantage on attack and perception checks while your target, or what you're trying to perceive, is in direct sunlight. Now, Pez is, I say lucky, but I got this hat for him specifically, that negates that. So long as he is wearing it, anything that he is seeing or anywhere that he is considered to be in at least dim light. So any questions, comments so far on Kobold advantages, disadvantages?
They also get disadvantage in strength.
Do they?
Yep.
Hang on.
Pretty sure.
I'm gonna look at that because I feel like that would have been something that I wrote down. Now I should say that I am using D&D Beyond's quote unquote official rule set for them. I'm not looking at Homebrew or for the monsters themselves.
Oh, maybe I'm mistaken.
Dexterity is increased by 2. You're an adult by 6. You can live up to 120, but you rarely do so because you just fucking die. You were anywhere between 2 and 3 feet tall, 25 to 35 pounds. Your size is small. Walking speed is 30. You have dark vision. Grovel, cower, beg, we covered that. Pack tactics, covered that. Sunlight sensitivity, covered that. And your languages. I see nothing about a strength disadvantage.
All right.
Time to fix Pez.
I will happily go through and give you a negative to your strength, sir.
I'm already at a +0.
Oh, well, I don't want to be that much of an ass.
It's not technically negative.
We're going to change that to a -0, good sir.
Okay, so moving on to the lore for kobolds. I wrote so much down because, holy fuck, there's a lot more to kobolds than I realized.
Are we allowed to swear in this?
As a kobold or the stream?
Fucking swore.
Yes, as everything.
Yes.
Fuck gnomes.
Yeah, I'm okay. You're beating me. That's like my 5th bullet point.
Fuck gnomes, baby.
So to touch very briefly, because these I feel are pretty bog standard. Their strength is in numbers. They really want to be left alone to dig tunnels, make baby kobolds, and look for magic items that may free their god.
Shiny moss.
Which, for those of you who may not know, their god was basically tricked and trapped. So the kobolds are no longer able to really communicate with their god because their god is sort of imprisoned. And they believe that their god was tricked by the gnomish deities. We'll kind of touch on that as I go down my bullet points. Kobolds are very, very well known for their devious traps to defend their homes. And to kind of expound upon that, they are very good at making their homes comfortable to them, but an absolute hazard to normal-sized people. For example, the tunnels are kobold-sized, so the biggins have to crouch. The railings are high enough for kobolds, but that makes them tripping hazards for biggins. Bridges are designed to carry the weight of a kobold, but biggins will snap the planks and ropes and fall, kind of like Brick with the ladder in the mines of Drybell.
I remember that. That fucking hurt.
One of the cool things that I found was kobold tribes are often employed to build sewer systems for towns.
Yeah.
So they'll actually go through, build the sewer systems, and expand the sewer systems as the cities grow. And because of that, the kobolds will sometimes venture out in the middle of the night to kind of like root around and find some stuff, but they generally won't bother anyone unless they're gnomes. And they, as he said, they really, really fucking hate gnomes. Enough so that when they go out on their nightly ventures, they will target gnomish homes in their nighttime looting runs. Yes, Paz?
I hate them. they hurt Colonel Mac. Freaking Garl Glitter Gold.
And I took this word for word. They might spit in the milk, balance the dishes on tables so they're easily knocked over and broken, or scatter sewing needles all over the floor. Petty, vengeful acts that humiliate, injure, or anger the gnomes, but not so much that the gnomes might want to hunt down and kill the kobolds. The kobolds still don't want to fight. They just want to severely inconvenience gnomes.
Yeah, we're little shits.
Yes. Downside in the lore, They very willingly serve chromatic dragons. They will trip over themselves to obey orders from dragons and sometimes dragonborns as well.
Yeah, let's not go into Pez's history about that.
Yeah.
Oh, we're going to go into Post's history about that.
No
At some
metagaming.
What?
Another kind of interesting thing, there are no meaningful relationships. They have communal egg chambers, and young kobolds are raised by the tribe. So their mating is more for convenience than actual love or anything.
Yeah.
Basically,
like
they
bunnies.
just like fucking.
Yeah, they got to
penguins.
repopulate. Now, this one was very interesting to me. Kobolds are capable of changing their sex. If the tribe is unbalanced, over several months, kobolds will change genders until the populace is balanced to help them repopulate after a battle, for example.
And thank God Pez is in a group of 2 women and 3 guys, because we'd be really fucked if he wasn't.
Kobolds
We
are
just
like
wake up one
frogs.
day and it's like, hi guys.
Where'd my
Voices
dick
loud.
go? They can live up to be 120 years old, but they're often killed long before then, either by work, by being prey, being killed as prey for not working. Take your pick.
How old are you? 11 days. How old do kobolds live? 11 days.
Today's the day!
A cookie for anyone who understands that reference.
Spurt.
No.
Okay, no one gets a reference. No cookies.
I said spurt.
Cookies for you.
Oh, spurt.
It's from Critical Role.
Oh, yeah, when he got squished by the fire giant. Yep. King Julian! So here is something that I kind of thought of in the middle of the campaign, but kind of ignored. And then come to find out that it was actually legit. I believe it was Vanera made Pez eat salad. The motherfucking tree star. So even though they have pointed teeth, kobolds are omnivores. And they will literally eat damn near anything. And again, this is from D&D book. It includes meat, fruit, tree bark, bone, leather, and eggshells. And in parentheses it says, a newly
makes
hatched
sense.
kobold's first meal is usually its own shell.
But that makes sense. That's what a lot of birds do.
Right, but birds don't eat bark. They don't eat leather.
Some of them do.
Woodpeckers eat
Have you ever
bark.
met a parrot?
Woodpeckers don't eat bark. They like
You don't know
peck-
that.
Parrots.
I do.
Parrots
So-
eat freaking everything.
So basically, kobolds are raccoons.
They're goats. They have the horns and everything. They have the cute tails, the horns, the weird looking eyes. I mean, look at this fucker on the stool there.
Kobolds are
There you
goat,
go.
dragon, raccoon birds. Got it.
I'm not gonna lie, I'm really happy you have a sign in there with moss because it does not look like moss on the right.
Yeah, I thought about that when I did it. It was very hard to get a moss color green, so I was like, Pez would put a sign in it. Birds have wood toys. They do indeed have wood toys.
They do.
That was Splinter going in.
Destroy your cabinets and your baseboards and your life.
The kookaburra at Gatorland loved to play fetch with her favorite stick.
The last little note that I have as far as kobolds are concerned, there is a rare offshoot of kobolds called urds, which are winged kobolds. These are generally ostracized because the urds deity is said to have tricked the kobold god. I've
We
never
don't talk about them.
I've never personally seen or really heard anything about urds before. It's definitely something I want to look into. So
They're not commonly used.
Nope.
So, Pez, have I missed anything? Is there anything that you would like to expound upon or elaborate with?
Kobolds have dog noses.
Well, no. So that's an interesting thing for me. Because I've seen various forms of art, and if I look at the Wizards of the Coast D&D Beyond artwork, it looks very crocodile-y.
Yeah.
But then you look at your cute little fucker here, and like, that's not crocodile-y.
So
Well, it also
what many
depends
people
on what generation.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I was about to throw in. Go back to what is it? D&D edition, second edition or first edition. They're not even lizards. They're dog things.
Yeah.
Yep.
Mhm.
So.
Yeah,
Sad
like
face.
they only started becoming little lizards in like third edition Beyond. Because in
Or
fourth
as a
or
scalers.
in fifth edition they have the dog noses, which like brings it back to first and second edition. But
Yeah.
I don't like the dog nose. It just looks weird. So 9 times out of 10, whenever you look at kobolds, they're always just going to be like little lizard dudes.
Oh, okay. I see what you mean. They have a crocodile face, but a dog nose.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm picking up what you're putting down.
But if you look at like first edition, second edition, they look like a cross between dogs and rats.
Yeah.
And like even their tail has striation on it, like a rat does.
I think in like, is it Russian or Germanic lore, kobolds are rat people.
Yeah, it's Germanic,
Okay.
Oh god, they're fucking hideous.
right?
Yeah.
Okay, there's first edition. Let's take a look at second edition here. It literally looks like an upright pug, or a
does.
cat.
Mhm.
Who did we lose? Oh, we lost Kip.
Middle.
I forget. Was it first edition or second edition, where they had the creepy zombie duck thing, and one of the things was the kobolds used to like go out and pop up in bushes to make it go crazy so they could steal its eggs. It would like drive it nuts.
Might have been second edition.
I think that's second edition, yeah.
Yeah,
It was funny though.
it looks like once it got to third edition, they started to really consistently be the lizard kobold style.
Yeah.
If I remember correctly, I think we were talking about the Germanic folklore version of kobolds. I think those were influential in Tolkien's first kind of iterations of orcs, weren't they?
Orcs and crap.
They look
There was
very
another thing.
goblin-like, from what I'm seeing.
Yeah.
Well, because if you look at the old animated, like the Lord of the Rings animated from way back when, those
We
are
don't
more
talk about
hairy. How dare
Rude.
you, sir?
They're more dog-like.
They are
Yeah.
very dog-like.
Yeah.
The thing is with Tolkien, he made them so large that it's really hard to see that connection anymore.
True.
Because these guys in Germanic lore were like less than a foot tall,
Yeah, they
and they
hung
used to
out in
stab
bushes.
people in ankles. Yeah, which I think is hilarious. They just were like, they would come out, laugh at you, and stab you in the ankles and run away. Like,
Laughing an awfully lot for somebody within kicking distance.
but
We also like candles.
they do. Like moths. Mothis.
No, Moth, this is my candle.
Kobolds. I have many a kobold character.
Salt and vinegar chips are the best.
Those are not related to kobolds.
I know, but I'm eating
Actually,
them right
kobolds
now.
eat-
So.
Kobolds eat anything.
What?
Shut up. It is related.
Fair enough.
So closing thoughts on.
We can't hear you,
kobolds?
Lip.
That's it. That's all we
That's
have
it?
about kobolds. Oh,
Okay.
Sorry, I forgot I was muted. I was gonna say it's funny to me how kobolds are like a great example of just how the game has changed and developed over the years. Because it's funny to me, like first edition, the little dog things, and now we're in fifth edition with these little lizard guys, and it's an interesting little like marker for how the game is changed.
Yeah, they went from furries to scalies.
Well, see, like, another thing that I find interesting about kobolds is they're pretty much just shrunken down lizardmen, which is another player race, which
Yeah.
is like a better version of Dragonborn, because Dragonborn are kind of lame when you look at it, because they don't have dark vision. They're not like proper dragons, because dragons have dark vision. The only thing that's cool about Dragonborn are their breath weapons. For lizard folk, they have like various mutations to where you can actually breathe underwater or do various cool things.
Well, before you get too hard into talking about them, I'm gonna add that as another topic for next week's Whiskey Wednesdays. Do a bit of research and do a battle of who's better and why did Dragonborn become popular.
We should do a comparison of all the lizard-like races, like the lizard folk, the dragon, the Yuan Ti, kobolds.
Well, the Yuan Ti are more snake.
Yeah.
Lizard-ish, reptilian.
I mean, I see what you're getting at, but as far as like, if you stood those three races side by side, you'd be like, what the fuck are the Yuan Ti doing here?
Fair enough.
I mean, it depends again, though, if it's an abomination or not, because abominations could have arms and legs and look more lizard-like. So it depends on what level of Yuan Ti it would be.
That's also
Yuan Ti,
why I would
pure
argue
blood.
as far as the versus aspect that we're going for. Let's stick with Lizard Folk versus Dragonborn, where there's far more similarities. We can cover Yuan Ti in another session here, but you know what? I'm gonna go ahead and put them down as a later addition because they're
Closing
very
thoughts on
interesting. They're
kobolds?
kind of backwards to what you would expect in a weird
They
way.
really are.
So before we go any further into those realms, let's focus on the last and final topic of the first episode of Whiskey Wednesdays is interesting and favorite homebrew races. And since this topic was initially recommended by Kasumi, I'm assuming that you have one that you would like to talk about?
He's napping. So for the D&D homebrew races, as you can tell, I do like kitsunes.
No.
No way. I haven't been able to dabble into too many homebrew races, but the fact that D&D Beyond makes it so easy for people to have that kind of resource to where if you have a story or a campaign that you're inspired by and you really want to play a specific type of race, if it doesn't exist, you can go out and make it, which I think is absolutely fucking badass about D&D. So for my race, we actually kind of had to create it because we didn't necessarily had an official race for kitsunes. So the nice thing about that ability is if you're willing to work with your DM, you can make something that's really well balanced, or if it's not well balanced and you find out in combat, you can fix it. But it's just kind of a nice opportunity to have that resource, because if you become completely attached to a character, if you can get it close to what you're looking for, it makes it a lot more meaningful to actually play the character, which is kind of what I see with Zach with his characters too, because I tell he gets a lot more passionate about his Lapine characters because he feels a lot more connected to them.
No, they're official race now. Fucking stupid.
Well, yes,
I
but
just
they're
find
not.
brutal irony. Go through all this fucking all this type out. It's like, hey, by the way, guys, writing Hergek in the game. Like, what are those? Rabbit people. Fuck.
Yeah, but let's be real.
I will
Yours,
say
your customized is a little bit different, though.
Yeah.
Not by much. Like we legitimately sat down for like a week and a half and looked at what we had as a homebrew race versus what the Hergek was, and there really wasn't that much of a difference. I think there was like one or two differences.
On face value, yes. But the Lapines that I did had 3 different color variations, which were like Blood Moon, Harvest Moon,
basically
and then,
sub races.
Blue Moon. Yeah, and Blue Moon, each one having something different, like the Blood Moon one being more effective spellcasters, like with warlocks and stuff like that. The Harvest Moon ones being very good with like druids and like races that were grounded in earth, and then blue ones being more. Blue ones weren't really specialized in anything. It was just once every blue moon they could give their party buffs that they didn't get.
What was the one from the Odyssey campaign we played that was basically like a glow stick where we just like cracked you, shook you, and then you lit up like a fucking beacon?
That was Blue
That's
Moon, I think.
yeah. Let me hold on a second here. Let me pull it up.
Because that one was blue, so I assume it was Blue Moon.
It's blue. Yeah, it's a blue lapine. It's called Invigoration of the Full Moon. Once per day after a full moon or a blue moon, which is technically they're about the same thing. A party with a blue lapine can pick from a number of bonuses. These bonuses differ in time and description based on what is chosen. The party members must be within 150 feet to retain these bonuses, which is quite large, but that was kind of just a placeholder number until we figured everything out, until we decided that wasn't something to be used. You can use Vitality, which is if chosen. The day after full moon, a character can increase their hit points by 5 plus 5 character levels for 5 minutes. Combat Prowess is if chosen. For the day after full moon, the character can increase weapon or attack damage by 1 plus character level for 1 minute. And Boon of the Blessed Healer, if chosen, it's blah blah blah. Any healing done with spells or abilities is increased by 2 plus the character level for 1 minute. And then Confidence of the Unknown is the day after a full moon, the character can become proficient in a skill they are not proficient in for 5 minutes and can only be used out of combat. And on top of all that, the day of the full moon, the Lapine literally becomes an actual glow stick. They just turn on. It's like, imagine somebody put a light bulb up its ass and turned it on, the whole thing fucking lights up.
Yeah. we made fun of that for like, what, 2-3 sessions?
Oh,
Yeah.
that was good.
So
And
the one stipulation that I have, I love D&D Beyond. It makes things so fucking easy. But the one thing that I really wish that they would put their focus into is making the homebrew a little bit more customizable. Things like saying that, oh, if you're playing this race, you get like a +3 to your melee attacks, but not your ranged attacks. It's so convoluted and complicated that it should. If you were literally just doing this by pen and paper, it would not be a problem. But there's a lot of stuff like, for example, the spell that I just gave Kasumi. If I were to make it, I wanted to make it a feat so that I could just give it to her and it would give her a free spell. That spell can only be cast as an at will, as far as D&D Beyond is concerned. But I don't want it to. I want it to have to cost a spell slot. For it to cost a spell slot, as far as D&D Beyond's current homebrew system works, and all the research that I did on it, I would have to make a custom race or subrace. Or subclass, sorry. A custom class or custom subclass for that spell to be cast as a spell slot. The other option is that I make that spell readily available for a rogue, an arcane trickster to take. However, I didn't want her to have to swap out one of her spell abilities or one of her limited second, third level spell slots for that spell. I wanted that to be a feat, just a freely given spell. So I basically just had to say, Kasumi, here's your spell. Keep in mind when you use this, use a spell slot. Because for whatever reason, that's just not an option for D&D Beyond's homebrew creation. And I know that they are aware of this shortcoming. There's a lot of shortcomings with their homebrew system, but the homebrew is so far on their back burner as far as their priorities that that's probably not going to change for a very, very, very long time.
I do know that probably one of the biggest thing about D&D I think that would help, well, not help, because D&D itself is a great game, but coming from games and coming from a lot of like every type of game, like the armors and the weapons are cool, but like really cool armor weapons are just legendaries. Like, sometimes legendary effects are neat, but they're still really niche and aren't really useful in a ton of situations. Like, seeing armor that actually does something more than reduces piercing damage or gives you resistance to fire damage. I think there's obviously there are armors that do a little bit more than that. But, like, having armor that's just, like, when casting, like, for example, when I was one of the homebrew races, like, have armor that's like, when casting a healing spell, add a d4 to the result. Add 2 to the result. Like, make it so that if you're not just looking for basic bitch armor, but you're looking for armor that might have, like, an enchantment on it that gives it this effect that makes you better at being what you want to be. Not just, oh, hey, cool, I got the best armor that I can buy for a while. Oh, well, it's just going to sit there until I find something else.
Well, in that same argument, at least as far as my own personal preferences go as a DM, you have an armor like that in mind that you want to do. Why don't you craft it? Or why don't you find somebody to craft it specifically for you? The armors and shit that are provided by D&D proper are more like just bog standard what you would find at not a grocery store, a clothing shop. Like it's intended to be like, you go to a shop and this is the kind of shit that's sort of mass produced. You want something custom like what you're saying? That's when you go and find a very specialized person and say, hey, this is what I want. And he goes, yeah, mate, I can do that. It's going to cost you, though.
Kind of like that lady who had all the kids, but he got distracted by sleeping with her.
By Poontang.
Listen, one, I agree. Two, I just wish it didn't, like, it's almost like this is a homebrew conversation, but I almost wish that it just wasn't homebrew. Like, well, is it awesome that it can be homebrew and you can make it whatever you want to? It would just be nice to see take the initiative of, like, hey, people want more customizable stuff. Why don't we take some of the stuff that they're doing from homebrew and incorporate it in after, balance testing it and all that stuff.
I get that, but the problem from looking at it from, like, potentially looking at it from Wizards of the Coast perspective, there are so many races, so many classes, so many subclasses that literally going through and making a SKU for every single type of armor imaginable to cater to every single class is a nightmare. However, if you just say, oh, here's a +3 magic chest piece that gives you immunity to slashing and piercing that's non-magical. Well, cool, that covers the bases of like 30% of our player base. Next armor piece.
But that's stupid.
Yeah, you're not wrong. I see what you're saying, but here's the cool thing. If you're looking at the stream, that little person beside you hugging that green shit, might be able to assist you.
I already know. I'm already predominantly, excessively, what's the other word I'm looking
Aware?
for? Preemptively needy.
Acutely needy.
I just realized, is Brick a toaster?
Yes.
Yes.
I've been here for 2.5 hours and just put that together. Yep. I am tired.
As a side note, I just want to point out, Ian, when you said getting armor from the grocery store, the first thing that popped in my head was Kroger brand chainmail.
No, okay, thank God. I had a joke in my head, but I forgot what it was. You're like, go get the armor. There's only soup. Go to the next aisle. There's still only soup. Why are you trying to buy armor in the soup store? Fuck you!
Depending on the race, the soup can might be armor.
Listen.
Kobolds. Or actually, no. There's a fairy race now because of the...
Several.
Yes, there is.
Well, sorry. There's a official fairy player race because of the wild... Yeah, the Wild Beyond the Witchlight. I was actually... I made a fairy character at one point just to see what they were about, and I was kind of interested.
I love homebrew races.
No,
there's so much fun.
Because, like, hold on. What size did they make? Hold on. Sorry.
Small,
Tiny.
I believe.
Good. They make
actually,
everything medium, and it pisses me off.
Let me check. I think they're actually... No, they're small.
Okay.
Yeah, they're not tiny.
I
would maybe consider allowing you to be tiny, but we would have to talk about it.
Well, I'm just pointing out, like, technically they should be tiny, but it's going back to like everyone's complaint about centaurs and that centaurs are medium creatures. Like, no, they're not.
No, the fuck they aren't.
A horse, a centaur can ride on a horse. A halfling could ride on a centaur. A kobold could ride on a halfling, and a pixie could ride on a kobold.
Okay,
called
other
an
than
orgy.
halfling, I like everything about that sentence.
It's literally like the most gruesome Russian nesting doll ever.
Eh.
I love
makes
that
so many
like three
people
of you
upset.
just bounce at the same time on the stream. That was awesome. So I have at least 3 races that I'm homebrew races that I'm interested in talking about. Before we touch on those, does anyone else have any race that they have seen before in the past that they're interested
Yes.
I do.
I have a list.
in? Okay, rock paper scissors to see which one of you goes first.
I give up.
Okay, Becca, you go first.
Okay, so thank you, by the way. So the first one is a doll graveborn.
Like,
So a graveborn
define
is
doll.
basically, so it's like a child's doll.
okay.
So they
just making
based
sure.
it off of Bannet, the Pokemon,
Oh,
where like the village was attacked, their kid was killed, and the doll felt so much rage about the kid being killed that it went off on this mission to like avenge their dead child, basically. So it's kind of cool because it's just like a really pissed off, like little
Yucky.
doll
so it's
with like
Chucky
her
with a
fluffy-
conscience.
Yeah. So the entire thing that it's trying to do is like avenge their child. I know someone else had it so that the kid was like kidnapped or something. It belonged like it was a princess or something like that, and the whole mission that this doll was going through was trying to get them back. So those are really cool. I really enjoy them. They're a lot of fun. I'm not gonna lie, because like they're just so creepy, and like half the time like the other players are just carrying them around, and all of a sudden they start talking,
What?
and like the reactions are just amazing because like you don't like sometimes you just forget that they're there, and then they just start talking, and you just like freak out because you're like so into it, and then it's like a dead silent moment, and they'll crack a joke or something, and it's amazing.
That makes me think of the campaign prompt that was, you get a bunch of people that are either druids or rangers and give them pets, but then the characters themselves get kidnapped, and then the whole campaign is the pets trying to like homeward bound their way to their owners.
So that's actually my other favorite homebrew. They're called Awaken. Basically where animals, just like everyday animals, gain basic consciousness and the ability to spellcast or use weaponry. And so they have like an entire fan-made book about the Awaken and how there's like a cow and dogs that are wizards, and like they actually have I don't think it's Wizard of the Coast, but I know you can buy it at the comic book shop here in Florida, where they actually have a whole side campaign that's doggos and dungeons and cats and catacombs.
That is absolutely not, or at the very least, it's not D&D Beyond yet. Maybe once they make
No.
the final merger, we'll see that.
But they have a whole campaign book on it, and they have 3 different sets for both of them on miniature figures. So I actually have, I think I have the cats and catacomb ones, but basically they're awakened animals who just go off and do the exact same thing, but they're like a goat. So goats go in, they're able to talk, they're able to cast spells, they're able to use weaponry, and they just sit at the bar, and they're still like quadrupedal if they're quadrupedal. Like they don't like just get to stand up. They're like any of the like the cat folk or the dog folk or the lizard folk. They're just there in their little outfits. And
Am I
Kicking
wrong
their-
to think that you would almost be contractually obligated to voice the creature based on what they are? Like, if you're a kangaroo, you got to be an Aussie. If you're
Yes.
a goat, you got to be a Southern hick.
yes, I have 2 more if that's okay.
No, yeah, go for it.
Okay. The other one is the potfin, which is basically a it's a griffin, but it's tiny, and it's only like 3 pounds, and it has the frog bird's face, so it's just always looked like it's having like an existential crisis. And I can put a picture of it in the Discord,
Yeah,
but
go
it
for
is freaking hilarious because it like acts like it's like this big badass, and it's like 3 pounds.
If you want to see this image, follow the link in the stream chat now.
Yeah.
Or the links down below if you're watching this as a VOD.
I'm trying to figure out which one to put them in.
Creature share, I think. If you go into D&D shares.
Hold on. I'm going. I'm trying my best.
Hold up.
Peace.
Wait a minute. Looking for an image in it.
Yeah, that's it. It's so cute. It looks so concerned about life. Like it's having like all the breakdowns.
Oh, character sharing.
Yeah, it was put in character share. It's
Oh,
fine.
I'm sorry.
Nah, it's all good.
You're fine.
But yeah, it just like looks like it's constantly having
It's
an
a Pooh
existential
tube.
crisis. It's so cute.
And what was your final one?
The Estratundon. I can never say the word right, but basically it
Type
is
it out. I'm curious.
it's EQUESTRADON.
Equestrodon.
Yes. It is a combination of a horse and a dinosaur.
Makes
It
sense.
is freaking cool because especially since for the most part it looks like a horse and they have ones that have longer front legs so like you can actually put cups on the front hooves and people think it's just a normal horse and then it will raise up, have jagged teeth and like claws and just beat the crap out of people. It's amazing.
Sounds less of a horse/dinosaur and more like a creature from people's nightmares. But yeah, that works.
New
too.
cryptid confirmed.
It's really cool.
It's horse with dog mouth.
It has like claws and it has like some of them are like cross between like horses and like velociraptors, so they have like the big claws on the back feet. They're just really, really cool and like they just beat the crap out of people. It's amazing.
So
Wait,
I'm gonna post this in creature share, but like that's what it makes me think of. The deer, but with like a predator jaw teeth
Hold on.
arrangement.
I have this here.
Shark horse.
Hold on.
It's so majestic.
They're really cool looking, like, cause they come in like all the normal horse colors, so they're like.
Oh, what the
beautiful.
fuck? That is awesome!
Isn't that cool?
Holy shit! It's like a.
Is it?
Okay, it's like a big, beefy Jurassic Park style velociraptor, but a horse.
I mean, and they come in different categories and sizes, so you can combine different horse species with different dinosaur species. So, like, I know a friend of mine did an Arabian velociraptor. So it was this very dainty, like, very, like, overly the top kind of, like, horse. And then there was another one that it was a Clydesdale and a Carnotaurus. And it was just, like I said, they would put, like, cups on the front like hooves and back hooves, so it would make it look like it still had hooves. And then whenever they got in a battle situation, it would open that big old mouth up and have like jagged teeth, and it would stand up and it has claws on front feet and back feet, and they didn't even realize it, and it would just tear the crap out of people.
Okay,
I'm gonna put this in on the stream real quick. It's gonna cover everything up, but like these are just so fucking badass looking.
Okay, so I have to point this out. I have to point this out that these Equestros have a +6 to deception. And I can't argue with it. Because the creature in itself is deceptive.
Dude, the one in the middle, if that was just walking around on all fours, absolutely I would fall for the fact that it's a horse.
I just love how it says, can be broken, ... eventually.
Man, you'd have to find that fucker as a baby.
But aren't they the coolest looking things?
That is so fucking badass looking.
I told you I had a good list. No one
Okay,
ever listens.
so just trying to keep things moving on a little bit since we're almost at 3 hours. Holy fuck. Nim, you said you had one?
I have a few.
Uh-oh, a few. Okay.
Yeah.
Go for it.
Theoretically, Pez is a homebrew, kind of.
Technically speaking, he is not the official D&D kobold. Correct. We made our own for him.
He is a frilled lizard.
Aw.
And for those who don't know what those are, they're usually found like down in Australia, and they frill up and hiss at you when they get
run.
anxious, and then they run.
It's
Usually
a
on
perfect
two
kobold
legs.
race.
Yeah. Another homebrew race.
Real quick, actually, are they Are they also the Jesus lizard, or is that a different thing?
That's a different thing.
Different thing.
Okay,
kind of.
wasn't sure.
Another race. I mean, it's not really like a player race, but it would be the crocodile, and it's just a crocodile dog. It's
sounds
exactly what you think it
adorable.
is.
Is it kind of along the veins of that really cute shark dog?
More or less. Let me see if I can post a picture of it.
Oh. Oh, he's in a game. What is he in? Oh, no, the Crudes. That's what I'm thinking of.
There you go.
Not what I was thinking of. Oh, that's adorable.
Oh, that is super cute.
Again, join the Discord. You can find it in our Creature Share chat page.
So centaurs used to be a homebrew race until they became official. Satyrs also.
Horn dogs.
But something that is interesting that it doesn't really have like many official things would be like undead / awakened skeletons.
That's true. I think that they were a thing in 3rd or 4th edition, right?
I believe so. They're also a thing in Pathfinder.
Maybe that's what I'm thinking of. I'm actually not seeing centaurs.
You're muted, love.
Yep.
Oh no, there they are. Their splash art just looks kind of funny.
Again, bringing Matthew Mercer back into this. If you want to play an undead style character, he has a few options for you that he's created.
The main thing that I would argue that I absolutely love from playing Divinity 2 is that if you are playing an undead, healing potions hurt you, poisons heal you.
And that's like where some of that inspiration came from. Because like not only could you be a human undead, but you could be a dwarf, a lizard, a elf undead, which is really cool.
Yeah. I mean, it's an interesting concept because you'd have to play the character very well, because if you're playing a intelligent undead and like you don't want to hurt anybody, you're just existing, you're just bored because you can't fucking die, well, you got to disguise yourself because people aren't going to see that and go, oh yeah, he's just friendly neighborhood skelly boy. It's like, oh god, he's here to eat my brains.
You have to be disguised, and
Yep.
most of the time just put a bucket over your head.
A bucket. Yep.
Yeah,
Bucket
they're
is best
also along
disguised.
the line of animated armor.
Animated. Oh, got it.
I would argue that brick is basically animated armor already.
More or less.
Give or take.
Give or take.
But- Yeah. Other than the crocodile and those horses with dog mouths, because that was on one of my lists for mounts. Because I have a list for mounts. Yeah,
Pez, real quick, have you ever played the Jack and Dexter games?
I have all of them.
Okay, I was about to say, because there is a crocodile in those games.
Maybe that's the game that I was thinking of before.
Probably.
Anyone else before I take the wheel?
Nope, I have nothing because I'm very boring when it comes to homebrew. I will just take a already existing race and go, it looks like this.
All right,
Just
basic pitch,
reskin
got
it.
So for those who don't know, I'm a bit of a creature freak. I love xenomorphs. I'm always rooting for the monsters to win. So that would explain my first two favorite homebrew races that I almost got to play, but not really, because it was our text campaign that failed miserably. It's the Lamia, which is kind of dabbling into the Yuan Ti, but also not really, because they would be natural. It's basically half human, half snake. Not to be confused with Naga, they're a little bit different. It's basically human upper half, skin and all, and then snake lower half. Whereas Naga are scales all the way up, still humanoid upper torso, but scaly and kind of like big head, kind of Dragonborn style. It's almost like if you took the top of a Dragonborn and put it on the snake bottom. That's what a Naga would be. The Lamia, as far as what I've seen, are just... There's a few interesting things about them that I've kind of wanted to dabble with, is the fact that if they are moving, they technically take up a 5x10 space. They can take an action to coil themselves to take up a 5x5, but it's just an interesting little tidbit or twist in how the gameplay normally works with them. You've also got the Constrict, which gives you advantage on grapples. You've got the Natural Climber, so you can get up things a lot easier. You got Cold-Blooded, which is the same sort of hindrance that you have with Lizard Folk, where you have disadvantage on Constitution saving throws with environments in extreme cold. And yeah, it's just a race that I've always kind of enjoyed the idea of, anyway. And then you've got the Arachne, which are, they're Driders, but they're not Driders. Driders are the Nagas to Lamias. Driders are like drow who worship Loth and were blessed by their deity to become half spider, half drow. Arachne are like just natural born, is the way that I understand it. It's basically human torso attached to the top of a spider head. The body is just big, hairy spider legs. Gives you the ability to climb basically anything. It's like having spider climb, but without the spell. You have dark vision. You have arachnid eyes. You have an extra set of eyes that are always open. They detect movement. You can also see basically around you, even when sleeping. When only using your additional eyes, you can still make use of your passive perception at a -3 penalty. So it's almost kind of like what Brick has got, where he can sleep for like 4 hours. But you're basically just can kind of see everything, yeah, for forever. Monstrous form, you cannot make use of mounts because of your lower body. You are a humanoid and a monstrosity, so you have to take that into account when saying like, oh, this type of thing is affected by this, whatever. You cannot wear humanoid armor below the belt, so leggings, greaves, or boots kind of limits some of your magical items that you can wear. Many people fear you or may regard you with hostility. Other creatures naturally distrust you, so plays into the role-playing quite a bit as far as how your DM handles you. You cannot swim. You have a swim speed of 0. The armor that you can get requires somewhere between 2 to 3 times the materials to be made because of your bigger lower body. There's a whole bunch in here. Like, you can make your own rope, you can make bedges, you can make beds, bandages, you can bind a living creature, you can make textiles and cloths. There's a whole lot roleplay wise and just character wise that can go into this. That's just a really interesting thing to take into account. And what Becca just posted in Creature Share is more closely a what you would get from Odyssey of the Dragon Lords. That is a Medusa. They have snakes for hair. They are cursed. Slightly different from a Lamia.
There are like animes that have Lamia like Lamia and Lamia in them.
What?
There are a couple animes that have those in them.
Well, so the Medusa are cursed in the sense that it's like a magical fear. There's a bunch of different variations to it, and I don't have the Odyssey stuff pulled up, but it's a distinct difference where the Medusa are able to petrify and slow just by their gaze. The Lamia are just a creature. They don't get basic magical abilities based on their race. They can be a rogue, a fighter, a barbarian, whatnot. That is more along the lines of what a Lamia would be. The same one that Zahn just posted in there as well. The only other race that I had, I forget why I initially looked into these. I think it was research for a one-shot or a campaign that just never came around, but the Lutrinians. Anyone that's been around me for long enough knows that I love otters. Lutrinians are otters. That's basically it. I'm a closet furry.
You heard it here first, folks.
Fucking furries.
They've got proficiency in acrobatics. They're cute and cuddly, which gives them proficiency in persuasion and performance. They have an increase to charisma. They can't breathe underwater, but can hold your breath for up to an hour at a time and can see 30 feet in murky water as if it were clear. A lot of proficiencies as far as swimming and all that sort of thing is concerned. Yeah, just another race that you can play. Well, that...
Oh, Ian,
Yes.
are you aware that there are 2 different types of lamias?
Yes.
The one that's the lion bottom, but it's like scaled. And then the snake one?
Okay, maybe not. Hold on. The lion bottom?
I thought
So
the
it's called-
lion-bodied ones were counted technically as sphinxes.
No, so these are called the lamia lions, and apparently they were more of the original like legend. I'm gonna put a picture of the one that I found, but apparently like they're also considered to be a lamia, where it's like it like looks more like a lion body, but it's scaled and they live in the water. It looks like.
Interesting. I mean, if
Yeah.
I saw that, I wouldn't categorize it as a lamia. I would probably categorize it either as a sphinx or a chimera.
Mhm.
I mean, I can kind of see where they're going for, because it's like a lion bottom, but instead of it being fur, it's all scales.
Yep. Because
But
apparently that was the original source of the myth, and then they went from that to a snake body. So technically, both of them are lamia. They're just 2 different divergent types.
yeah, I'm just going to stick with my definition of lamia and move on.
You got it.
So, anyone else got anything as far as homebrew races that they're interested in?
Well, again, it's just more like homebrew mounts, but like a lot of the Pegasus variants out there. Like I follow this Tumblr for years. It's called Sky Cowboys, and the way she does her art, she like takes actual birds like peacocks and falcons and turns them into Pegasi, and they look gorgeous. But like they're not like your standard Pegasus where it's just a horse with wings. It's an actual like horse with bird tails, bird wings, and bird beak, and it's just really cool.
So, not lazy.
Yeah, like actual legit bird horse.
Gotcha. I mean, if you have any of those that you can post in creature shares or NSFW if the need arises. Aw, okay. Goodbye, Kirsten. She had to hop out.
I've got a homebrew race I still haven't managed to put into writing because I'm not really sure how to balance it because there's no way in hell that I could even possibly imagine how to balance it.
What is it?
It's my love of Eastern Dragon, so it would be a half dragon race that does have tails, long hair, and I've never figured out how to balance it, but the whole idea behind it is the original idea was once per 7 days you could transform into your serpent form or your cloud serpent form. But I just don't even know how you begin to balance something like that.
I mean, from the limited information that I've been given, it could be a simple thing, kind of like with Brick's Ceratopper, where once every 7 days he's able to polymorph into a Triceratops. Same thing for you. Once every so often, you're able to basically turn into like a young dragon. You know, in earlier levels, and when you get to higher levels, you can turn into like an adult dragon or an ancient dragon, but have it only be for like a minute. So like 10 rounds of combat. So more than enough time to wreck shop. But you know, if that's something you want to delve into, I'm more than happy to sit down and try to figure out the intricacies of it.
Yeah, I'm still tossing the idea over in my head. It's just I haven't found the motivation to do so yet. That's why I have all the references of Eastern Dragon images or like Eastern Dragon that I posted earlier. Because I'm just like, yeah, but how? Especially that last one. God, that fucking last one.
I mean, to kind of rip off the idea of World of Warcraft's new expansion, what if it's kind of along those lines where you've got like you're Dragonborn but
like
not
that.
because you've got dragon aspects but you've got very human features, and then you just go full dragon occasionally.
It's something I tossed around. That was the main reason why I started contemplating it again. But
I'm more than
when I
happy to
get the
sit down and
motivation.
powwow some of the balancing factors of it, since that's something I have to think about all the fucking time with you, Chuckle Fox.
Yeah. I won't argue with you there. I don't know. We'll have to see.
All right. Well, that just about does it as far as topics that I've got. So if anybody has anything else that they want to share last minute before we sign off on this.
Yep.
Join us in the Discord. Watch all of our stuff. Donate stuff, please. We're lonely.
Yes.
So putting the Discord in the chat, also sending the link to the Whiskey Wednesdays suggestion page. If you have any ideas of things that you want to talk about in a future session, or have us, even if you don't want to talk, give us something to talk about. There's that. And then also, if you want a custom doodle, oop, hold on, I did that wrong. Doodle, not doodles. There we go. So if you want a doodle done by our lovely and talented Venera, you can donate $10 to our coffee page, and she will give you a doodle of questionable quality of a creature of your choice.
It might
could
be good.
a
It might be
feathered
bad.
horse. Looking
might be a nightmare.
ahead, our next D&D stream is going to be not this coming Friday, but the Friday following that. And I believe Metal will be hosting one of his Metallurgy Magic streams this Saturday. So if you want updates on that, we're probably going to be doing more Minecraft. We've got the Minecraft info in our Discord. We can get you in if you just want to play around with that. Even if you're not playing with us, you just want to play Minecraft, anyone is more than welcome. You just got to message Metal. We've also got the calendar linked down below so you can see what we've got coming up. And anyone else got anything they want to talk about? Last minute? No?
Nope.
All right.
Eat your
pretty
moss,
fun.
kids.
Let me finish off the last of my whiskey real quick.
You had a great idea.
Chug, 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 chug.
Gotta follow the rules of the stream. I am out of whiskey. It took me 2 glasses, but we made it. All right. We got nothing else. See you the next time we go live. Very likely this weekend with Metallurgy Magic. If not, at the very least, we'll see you next week for more Whiskey Wednesdays. Good night, everybody.
Goodbye.
Oh, yeah.